I'm banging out 83 beats per minute.
I am 81. What's your rest in the heartbeat there now? Come on.
Oh, 1 second. Are we doing that? Let me see.
Go on, see now.
How do we do that?
Just hit the thing. We've got these smartwatches.
My average resting heart rate's 55.
I'm 49.
Well, you're fitter than me.
No, I don't know about that. Come here, how are you? Anyway, a bit of an old blow of the day in the weather.
Sure it is. It's always windy up here, isn't it? The last couple of days were so lovely and calm.
It was nice.
I know. And then
Did you see the stretch in the evening yesterday? Maybe it was because we
had a
had...
queer stretch in the evening. I don't want to, use an obvious phrase, but there is a queer stretch in the evening.
There is, and there's a bit of a stretch in the... What would you say? Would you say there's a stretch in the morning? What do you say about the morning time then? It's a stretch in the evening. It's a... What do you...
Stretch in
what's the opposite to stretch?
The nights are closing in.
The mornings are closing in. No,
I don't know. 086 60 25,000. Listen, you don't want to wish your life away, right?
Yeah.
But if we get to St. Patrick's Day, which is just around the corner, then Easter, and then summer.
What are you saying all that for?
Because then we get nice long days and it's going to be beautiful weather and everyone's going to be happy.
When does the clocks go? Spring back, forward?
Spring forward, fall back. I don't know. End of March. End of March.
Do you think our age now we would know the exact date? Why
but it changes, doesn't it?
I don't know. Does it?
I think so.
Must be a certain time of year.
Lee, I don't have enough space in my brain for things that are a day or two in advance. I can only operate today, then tomorrow, and then tomorrow.
You take one day at a time, don't you?
Yeah, I'm not a great planner.
No, you know.
No.
It's all right. But plan ahead now for this news.
I'll plan to see you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock.
Fingers crossed.
I'm sorry I'm distracted. My headphones are...
Do you want me to leave mine? I leave mine.
I'm too
be fitter all day.
No, it's fine. Okay, right. That's it. All right, then. Thanks, Lee. Take care of yourself. 9 o'clock, it's a minute past. Let's get a news update now. Over to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. Details of the deal, which is paving the way for the return to power sharing at Stormont, are to be revealed later today. Tánaiste Micheál Martin is there for talks with the northern parties. The DUP is hailing the agreement on post-Brexit trading rules, while Downing Street insists it won't mean a greater reliance on EU decisions. There's been no functioning government at Stormont now for 2 years, while Sinn Féin leader Mary Lou McDonald believes with her deputy Michelle O'Neill set to become First Minister, there's major change on the horizon.
I think the days of partition are numbered. It doesn't work. So long as Ireland is partitioned, we will face very, very significant economic challenges and disadvantages here in the north and all along the border.
Well, post-Brexit controls on food, plants and animal imports into the UK from the EU come into force today. Meat and dairy, fruit, veg and cut flowers will require specific health certificates, with the Tánaiste and Agriculture Minister Charlie McConalogue urging Irish exporters to ensure that they are on top of the new requirements. The cost to British businesses, meanwhile, could be hundreds of millions of pounds a year, and that could push up prices. Peter Hardwick of the British Meat Processors Association says more negotiation should now take place.
We should sit down with the European Union, negotiate a comprehensive veterinary agreement based on alignment. That would wipe away this problem overnight, remove all the costs. It would also significantly resolve the issues in relation to goods moving to Northern Ireland.
And members of Donegal County Council have been briefed on the new deposit return scheme, which comes into effect tomorrow. A level of 15 cent will be imposed on cans or bottles containing 500 millilitres or less, 25 cent on containers holding above 500 millilitres. The charges can be redeemed when the bottle or can is recycled in a special return machine. Machines are being placed in large shops. Smaller ones have been granted exemptions. The presentation to Donegal County Council was made by the authority's Director of Water and Environment Services, Michael McGarvey. He says while it may take a while to bed in, the scheme is an important one.
I'm sure we will run into some teething problems initially, but I think that this is something that we welcome and we think will help support the really good work that our community groups, our tidy town groups, etc. throughout the country are doing. We have 5,500 to 6,000 volunteers out there on the big spring clean-up in the coming weeks and months, and this will definitely help be a step in the right direction.
A yellow wind warning is in place until 1 o'clock this afternoon. Met Éireann says the warning covers Donegal, Galway, Leitrim, Mayo and Sligo. A power outage in Dunloe has been resolved. 41 homes and businesses in Bundoran are still affected. They should be back by 4:15 this afternoon. Met Éireann is warning of wave overtopping in coastal areas with strong and gusty southwesterly winds and rain spreading from the northwest. And the forecast tells us to expect a dry start with some bright spells, but breezy with fresh to strong and gusty southwest winds. Turning cloudier as the morning goes on, a band of rain will move in from the northwest toward mid-morning. That's going to bring those stronger winds for a time. That should clear by mid-afternoon. Top temperatures today 9 or 10 degrees Celsius. That's Highland Radio News. More on our website, highlandradio.com. More news at 10.
You know when you're flying back from some winter sun, you take an epic cloud pic, but it's got your sunburnt reflection in the window. Well, the new Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra has built-in AI that removes reflections and even touches up your pics so well, you'll be drowning in fire emojis.
Galaxy AI is here. Buy now from Samsung and get up to €730 off when you trade in your old smartphone. Purchase by 29th of Feb. €730 based on Galaxy S23 Ultra 256GB. Values vary by model and condition. T's and C's apply.
And now it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Good morning to you. It's just turning 9:05 on this Wednesday, the 31st of January 2024. How are you all keeping out there? I hope you are very well indeed, or as well as you can be. Given all our personal circumstances, we're here to keep you informed and entertained and company over the next 3 hours. We want that in return, if that's okay. We want your feedback, your comments, your issues, whatever you want to talk about, to 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and text to that number. You can also contact us, of course, and when I say you can, we want you to contact us too from outside the Republic. 0035386 60 25,000, and your phone calls into us on 07491 25,000. Emails, it's getting really busy on the emails, which is great, thank you. Comments at highlandradio.com with a few inquiries and two that we've got some answers for people on, which will bring you throughout the course of this morning. If you wish to watch the show, you can do so on your mobile devices, wherever you are, YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland, or on Facebook, Highland Hub, Highland Radio News and Sport. And just a reminder for you, if you work from home or are at home and you want to watch us on your big screen TV and see most of the guests that join us both in studio and remotely, we'll open up your Fire Stick and the YouTube app, Highland Radio Ireland, or the smart TV you have, and most, I think most, maybe, I don't know. Many of you have a smart TV, the YouTube app's built in there. All right, let's get a look at what's making some of the papers today. And the Irish Times, we go inside to the third page. The government is to start running regular charter flights dedicated to deporting people who've failed in their asylum applications. The first flights, which would use private aircraft hired by the Department of Justice, are expected to happen later this year. The move comes as the government attempts to present a tougher image on immigration in advance of local and European elections in June. Other planned measures included adding Algeria and Botswana to the official list of safe countries that allows the fast-tracking process of immigration claims. International protection applicants coming from those countries are to have their applications decided on within a maximum of 90 days. Yesterday, Minister for Justice Helen McEntee outlined fresh plans to clamp down on those who already have refugee status in another European state. They are to be entered into an inadmissibility procedure, which will also be subject to fast processing. The measures are to come into effect from today. Together, these measures would lead to the potential removal of up to 5,000 people from the IP system here, Ms. McEntee said, adding Botswana and Algeria to the safe countries list brings to 10 the number of countries in that category. There were 1,462 IP applicants from Nigeria last year, 343 from Botswana, and the change of status, them being safe countries, would be that it would be much faster to effectively, unless there was extreme circumstances, refuse them application to stay here. On to the Irish Independent now, and Green Minister's flights will rack up almost 11 tonnes of carbon emissions on St. Patrick's Day trips to Brazil, the US, the Far East and other locations this year. That's the equivalent of a year's worth of emissions for two of your average family cars. So the Green Minister's flights just to go to and from on St. Patrick's Day, according to the paper, equates to two family cars in terms of emissions. Environment Minister Eamon Ryan will lead the Green Exodus as he travels to Brazil between March 13th and 17th, where he'll visit the cities of Brasilia and Sao Paulo, a journey that will create 2.37 tonnes of emissions. His spokesperson said last night every individual minister tries to line up functions and events relating to their responsibilities. In this case, the Brazilian rainforest is an area of interest to him in his portfolio. And the problem is, you see, when you're explaining, you're losing, and I do say that quite a bit, but it is quite true. the bottom line is that no matter what he says, those who are being precluded from, burning turf, for an example, selling turf, those who are being constrained to the point whereby they're paying extra for this, that, and none for the climate crisis. And I'm not saying we shouldn't be doing that, by the way, but it sticks in the throat of people then when they hear of Green Party ministers flying around the place and are able to justify it because it's a means to an end. But a regular person might say, yeah, well, I only have a stove. I don't have central heating as such. I don't have an oil burner. Me burning turf is a means to an end. You know what I mean? And that's a problem in trying to relate a message when you appear to flaunt that message yourself because your reasons are justified. Well, every individual potentially can make a justifiable argument as to their actions as well. If you're interested, Agriculture Minister Charlie McConalogue, he's going to Kenya, Ethiopia and South Sudan. So a triple hop there for the local minister. On to the Irish Daily Mail now, and a complaint about a controversial TG Cahir documentary on the explosion in the County Donegal village of Creeslough, which killed 10 people, has been partially upheld by the media watchdog. Commissioner Mann said the documentary about the tragedy, and which was broadcast on February 8th, 2023, had breached the Broadcasting Act 2009 by causing harm or offence. The media regulator said TG Cahir had not sufficiently demonstrated that it took due care in broadcasting material which could cause distress, particularly given it was shown just 4 months after the tragedy in October 2022 and before a Garda investigation into the explosion was completed. And in advance of that, it was clear, and I like TG Cahir, by the way. I just think this was a serious mistake they made on their behalf. It was clearly too soon. There was questions that people had about their loved ones that weren't answered. The final moments, in some cases, that they hadn't really truly learned or understood, and they were waiting on an investigation to say, well, what took our families from us? What took our loved ones from us? What happened in the process that maybe led to their passing or serious injuries? And it was just way too quick, and everybody told them. And it was clear from correspondence and conversations on this show that it was too soon for the reasons outlined. Pre-investigation, people still had answers, but still they persisted, and they released a statement stating the reasons behind it, claiming that they were only going to include information that was already in the public domain, there was information in it that wasn't, and it was clear. And it's unfortunate because TG Cahir, as I say, I would hold in high regard, and they had good warning that it wasn't wanted. They're a Gaeltacht station, and that tragedy happened in a Gaeltacht area, and it's just sad that they made the mistake of doing it when they did. It served I saw it at the time as serving no function. Now, there are those who are more personally affected than I am that might have thought it was the right thing as well, and I accept that as I'm just reacting to the Commissioner Mann findings there. The Star tells us that the young girl seriously injured in a stabbing incident at Dublin's Parnell Square is back in an intensive care unit following a setback. The 5-year-old was injured in an incident outside the school in the North Inner City on November 23rd last. Now, I know some people are saying, well, why is it called an incident and not a stabbing by a named individual? Because there's a trial pending, and that is why it's being phrased like that. 2 other young children and a female care worker were also injured. Yesterday, the girl's mother said on a GoFundMe page, just a quick update, we had a bit of a setback and are currently in the ICU once more. Bumps in the road, particularly this long one, are to be expected. However, she said they are still positive and hoping to get back on ward. Fingers crossed is how that message concluded. I'm not sure. I think we have one of the lowest uptakes of health insurance in Donegal in all counties across the country. But some of you, of course, will have health insurance and will be keeping an eye on premiums, and unfortunately they're going up again if you're a VHI customer, because Ireland's largest private health cover provider will hike its premiums for the 3rd time in a year. Some families will be worse off by around €300 a year after the VHI puts up costs by an average of $796 from March 1st. Now, I would say there's quite a few families out there that might have people with long-term conditions or need the comfort and support, if that's how you would describe it, of private health insurance. And then they're facing this point whereby it's getting to the point that they can't afford it. But if they don't pay it, what's the alternative? So I imagine this causes quite a lot of stress to people out there. It's not relevant to me. I don't have it. I never have, but I'm sure there are those out there and they need it. And as that price goes up, another €300 per year, it really is quite a concern. Bosses explained that the volume of claims rose by more than 20% last year, while inflation made healthcare more expensive. If you have a comment on that, let us know. 086 60 25,000. And Elon Musk, a hero to so many people, it would seem. He's behind putting a Neuralink chip inside a human's head. The quadriplegic had the 20-cent sized device inserted by a precision robot on Sunday and is recovering well, the tycoon said. It sends information on the person's brain activity to a Neuralink app where it can be translated into actions and intentions on digital devices. Musk hopes the product, called telepathy, will eventually allow users with chronic disabilities to communicate better, faster than an auctioneer. So presumably it picks up the aim is that it will pick up the thoughts of someone and transmit them to an app so they can communicate, and where it goes from there, who is to say. That's a look at the newspapers. Just a couple of emails here before we take our first break. Hi, Greg. Just a query re home insurance. I find it hard to get a quote from companies as seemingly we live within 100 metres from the kind of water, let it be a stream, river, beach, or even a shock, even though we're not liable to flooding. Can you check if this is true, as we can only get one company to quote almost €800. That's up nearly €200 since last year. So is that something that you have any experience of now? €800, almost €800, depending on the value of your property, might not be the worst quote in the world, because mine is pretty average property, and it's not a great deal less than what you're paying. But that being said, it seems to be rising or complicated by the fact that they're within 100 metres of a water source, but that water source does not create a flooding liability. Now, it depends on how that's explained in the map. But anyway, there's someone out there, I'm sure, has got far greater an insight into that than I have. Please let us know. Here's an interesting one. Standing on Bree Hill overlooking Atlantic at 14:55 on Monday, I saw an object fall through the sky. The object was long with a wide tail section, silver in colour. Satellites can be up to 150 metres long. Some are recoverable, falling into the sea and picked up. What I saw was came through the clouds, visible for 2 to 3 seconds. When I got home, I went on Facebook asking if anyone else had seen it. It was definitely not a fireball. So, mid-afternoon on Monday, someone mentioned to me that they did see this. Mid-afternoon on Monday, did you see an object falling from the sky? And what was it? Have you been able to determine what it was? Now, separately to this, and it was later in the day, talking of Elon Musk, his company Starlink launched satellites. When they launch them, they cross over Ireland on a low orbit, and they can be seen as a string of satellites. This isn't what this person is talking about. This is something different. So, as I say, this was Monday around 2 to 3. Did you see that thing in the sky? And if so, do you know what it was? Let us know. 086 60 25,000.
The 9 till noon show with O'Hara's of Foxford, introducing our new 18-hour fermented white bloomer, scoring the bronze at Blas na HÉireann.
Do you have niggling pain, tight or sore joints, back pain, or maybe you're just getting ready for the start of the GAA season? CS Injury Clinic Buncrana can help you. We are now offering 30% off any treatment until the 9th of February. Call or text us on 083 45 11890 or online through CS Injury Facebook and Instagram pages. CS Injury Clinic. Move freely, be healthy.
Save on carving and laminate essentials at Homeland. Gas Buttocks debutter now €165. Milk Bar 10 compartment feeder now €179. Nutrius Ovigold and Bovigold mineral range, buy 2.5 litre, get 1 litre free. And there's 10% off the FlexiThin Classic waterproof jacket and trousers in store and online at homeland.ie. Nationwide delivery available. Offers available until March 31st.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why.
The Lotto jackpot is a guaranteed €2 million.
Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie.
The National Lottery. It could be you.
New this week in Home Store and More. All bathroom towels are all half price. But better hurry, because when all the half price bathroom towels are gone, they're gone. Also, all recycling kitchen bins and all artificial plants are still all half price. But when all the half price recycling kitchen bins and all the half price artificial plants are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More. Visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. New store now open in Frascati Centre, Blackrock. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
It's just approaching 20 minutes past 9. Paul Crone is Director of the National Association for Principals and Deputy Principals, and he joins us on the programme now. Paul, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg.
Thanks so much for your time today. Right, we're going to talk about actions that schools are taking in relation to vaping, but it is really quite worrying and actually almost quite remarkable in a really bad way how many young people have become users and addicted to e-cigarettes.
No, and that is true. I suppose, a number of years ago, we thought we had smoking beaten. We thought the number of teenagers that were smoking were reducing, and we had evidence of that in schools. But now vaping has become an absolute epidemic in schools, and it's of huge concern to principals and school communities. And I'd imagine it's a huge concern to parents as well. And it has become so easy for them. They're flavoured, they're easy to get, and they don't know what's in the vapes, but it's becoming a huge problem in schools.
It is, and of course there is the nicotine addiction, and anyone who has not ever been addicted to nicotine, it's not just break times or whatever. It's distracting. It's it's a really, really, really strong addiction. But also, there have been some reports of, and it's really quite worrying, students having really bad reactions, being unresponsive through vaping. How that happens, I'm not fully sure. I don't know if it's something else that's being put in instead of the nicotine liquid or whatever, but still that is another concern. We are hearing of instances right across the country of students collapsing after vaping.
No, we're hearing that up and down the country, and a number of schools and quite a number of schools have had to enact their critical incident policy, where students would have reported elevated heart rates, panic attacks, seizures even, and the whole... And even taken out of the school in an ambulance, a number of students have been. And you're managing the aftermath, the care for that student, the link with their parents and families, keeping them informed, but then the residual panic that occurs within the school community for their friend, and then they start to wonder what is in it. And we've had recent contact with the Drugs and Alcohol Task Force in relation to this, and as a national issue. And we're looking at some sort of intervention to support schools around that. But they're reporting that they're getting more and more incidents of THC and cannabis oil being placed into the vapes, and students are blissfully unaware of what is in the vape, and they take that and have an adverse reaction to it, and it's a huge issue.
I think to schools, the legislators, public health, whomever it might be, need a bit of backup here from parents and guardians, because I don't think, because we would mention it from time to time here, I don't think enough noise is coming from parents. I don't think maybe a lot of people realise how extensive this is, that their child is actually probably likely at this point to be vaping. Now, I don't want to insult any parents, don't get me wrong, but if you look at the statistics from other countries that are comparable to here, more young people are vaping than are not. There's no real smell of it. There's no obvious signs of it. So whilst you might think, what's he talking about on the radio again? It's very possible that your child is addicted to vaping and you don't know it. And I think we need to be backing the schools up and the legislators who are finally catching up with some concerns now on this issue.
And that is very, very true. And it's going to take a whole community response. The school, the parent, other stakeholders, health professionals, healthcare professionals, in relation to, I suppose, a whole community response to this vaping. And I suppose it starts really at school level with a robust policy. Schools will have a substance use or misuse policy, and to get up-to-date information on vaping and a strong policy that is written in partnership with the students, with the parents, with community stakeholders, to have a strong response. And I mean, some schools are using vape alarms in toilets as a deterrent, but students go in, you can't put CCTV cameras in the toilets, but so students go into the cubicle and there's no evidence. So it's very hard for schools. While they are banned, it's very hard for schools to catch somebody. Students have them in their pocket. You're not going to put your hand in your pocket to get it. They're cute enough only to take it out at times when they're not seen. And such is the nature of the addiction that they will do that, and they will go to lengths to protect that. But it's a good start that the sale of vapes has been banned for under 18s. But that is only the start. And I know Micheál Martin has come out and said that is only the start. But it's still not illegal for them to use them.
Yeah. And also, they're still available, right? So there are people able to purchase them. There are people in schools that are 18, for an example, now, not great in number. I just want to correct something I said a little earlier on when I said we see statistics from other countries that are comparable to here that show more students vape than don't. That's not actually quite true. Sorry, I just want to correct myself on that. It's 20%. It's around 16-17% of mid-teens, 20% of older teens, and less than 10% of younger teens. But still, that's 1 in 5. That's declared. It could be greater. But I just want to correct when I said the majority, because that would be a mistruth. The thing about it is if people who have used have gone into a vape shop, for an example, we having a general conversation, and we'll get to what schools will do, but I think this is important if you might engage, Paul. But if someone has stopped smoking and they go into a vape shop, there's different grades, like 6%, 12%, 18, or whatever it might be, and there's a conscious decision to all that. I just wonder, I haven't a clue what nicotine percentage is in a disposable vape. If it's 12, 18, any nicotine at all, like you're talking more nicotine than smoking on a developing brain, but also that addiction. So when they are eventually banned outright, we're going to have to be dealing with a lot of teenagers really on come down or wondering where they're going to get the next nicotine hit. The obvious thing then is probably cigarettes. Do you know what I mean? So I think we need to be thinking about now, a little bit into the future, and then post-banning of these vapes where it's hard for kids to get their nicotine fix.
And you're actually hitting on a really, really important point there, that this has been ongoing for, I suppose, the last 2 to 3 years. So in many cases, 16, 17-year-olds would be quite in the height of the nicotine addiction. And if they're not able to get vapes, the worrying part is that they will go onto the internet and they will get them internationally, and there's no regulation there. With that, the principle of the vape initially, where it would help adults wean themselves off smoking rather than going into cold turkey, was very positive. But now we're going to have a situation where we have a number of teenagers that will need that level of support, and that is very worrying from the point of view that our healthcare professionals are already stretched. So it will be put on families to support students in that area. So what they need is relevant, up-to-date support and information so that they can support their teen or young adult as they move off. Because I think an awful lot of teenagers don't want to smoke because of the antisocial nature of it, the smell, the fact that you have to go outside in the cold all of the time. So I think when we get to the point, but even before they're banned, I think we need to start planning that withdrawal and planning that removal of the nicotine addiction from our teens and supporting them in that.
It really is coming down the track with at least 1 in 5 teenagers. You just don't stop using nicotine with no consequences, because anyone who's smoked knows exactly what it's like. And I think really schools don't want to be the bad guys in this necessarily. I think you mentioned, or one of your colleagues mentioned, that this needs to be a cross-society message coming from mums and dads, granny and granddads and so forth. But the local clubs where there's some influence there, the sports clubs, or, it's not just sport, other activity centres, so to speak, to get the message across, because we need to break the cycle here. You know, it's going to be tough for these teens to get off nicotine, but we need to sort of break it so there's not a new crop of 9 and 10-year-olds hitting 11, 12, 13 and 14 vaping.
And that's what will happen when, I suppose, when they become unavailable. The legislation hopefully will make them out of the reach of our new crop of teenagers. But you're right, it is a whole community. They need to get the same message in the GAA club, the soccer club, the rugby club, and the dancing, the music, whatever it is that they're doing at home, in school. But we need information, because I've actually heard people say, well, I'd rather them vape than smoke. But in many ways, vaping is much more dangerous because of the unknown element in it. So we need that information to be able to change our societal attitudes that will and empower everybody to help our teenagers.
Yeah, for sure, because even listening to Rishi Sunak, in describing why they were banning them, to some extent he was kind of promoting them, because he was saying, we do know, and how do you articulate it? He says, yes, we know there are much less damaging than smoking, but you know, if you're a teenager, you go, right, well, I heard the first bit. Okay, as I say, I just think it's a really big issue. Okay, thanks very much for your time, and we'll chat again. Take care. That is Paul Crone, Director of the National Association for Principals and Deputy Principals, and I really hope you don't think I'm on a hobby horse or overstating it here. It's just I've kind of seen it for myself, and I can see how it can be. I can see how it can concealed, and I can also see how it can complicate young people's lives in terms of socialising. Like if you've got a teenager that is always slipping off to the room or in and out of the toilet, it's possible that it's because they need to vape. As I say, if you've never been addicted to nicotine, you won't know. As soon as it starts wearing off, you have to go again. So you won't smell it. You won't see it in the eyes. You won't see it in the gate, so to speak. But there are other ways that you'll see it. I'll be taking a break very shortly. In fact, I will right now as we line up our next guest. Stay where you are.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with O'Hara's of Foxford. It took us 72 years to perfect our deliciously authentic Baker 51 sourdough bread. One bite and you'll agree true taste takes time.
Cervical Check provides free cervical screening for women aged 25 to 65. HPV cervical screening is one of the best ways to reduce your risk of developing cervical cancer in the future. If you're due your cervical screening, don't delay. Make an appointment today. For information and to check you're on the register, visit hsc.ie/cervical check. Or free phone 1-800 45 45 55. From the HSE.
At Hickey, Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers, they compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price. Home, motor and van, farm, holiday home, travel and liability insurance, they quote them all. So if the worst happens, you're covered. For a competitive insurance quote today, call Hickey, Clark and Langan on 9126688 or pop into their office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey, Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey, Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Don't miss the BAFTA award-winning comedian Michael McIntyre's brand new show, Magnificent, at the SSC Arena Belfast on Friday the 31st of May 2024. As always, Highland Radio make it easy for you as we look after all your needs. We will provide luxury transfers, overnight stay at the Clayton Hotel Belfast on a B&B basis, your ticket to the show, shopping time in Belfast City Centre. For more information, go to the outlet at highlandradio.com or give us a call on 074 91 25000. Michael McIntyre in Belfast.
Now, you're very welcome back to the programme. Now, we were speaking to Sinn Féin's housing spokesperson Owen O'Brien yesterday, and also we were reflecting on comments from the Housing Minister, Darragh O'Brien, the day previously, where he says the defective concrete scheme is taking hold, that it's beginning to work and it's going to be extended to more counties. Now, that's not, for the most part, and the figures back it up, the lived experience. And there are people that this scheme excludes or disenfranchises in different ways. And I've two guests in studio now who are in the same boat with different properties. Kathleen Bryant, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Greg.
And also Mary O'Regan. Thank you, Mary. I'll start with you, Kathleen, if that's all right. Take us through the story of your home.
Well, first I'll just say, Ramelton will be saying, who is that woman? Everybody knows me as Tina.
Okay.
But anyway...
But I only get Kathleen. I'm not your friend
yet. Do you know
yet.
what? It was just, when I came back from Canada and I was going on Facebook, they wouldn't let me back on with Tina Bryant. I had to show ID, so I had to use the Kathleen Bryant, which is my real name anyway. But anyway, I bought a new build Donegal County Council house in Ramelton with my life savings. And it was my life savings because I had to continue living with my mother for another 10 months until I could save up for my bed, my kitchen table. But I was thrilled, absolutely thrilled, to have my own home, to have my own door and be mortgage free.
And you'd worked, much of your working life was towards this security of this home.
Of course. I mean, I've been a carer or working with vulnerable people, in Canada and Australia. And I came back to Ireland to retire because it was a safe place to be. And, my children, one by one, all came back as well. But to then find... Actually, I spoke to you, Greg, on the phone one time about the housing estate becoming dilapidated looking. And you mentioned about cracks, and you said, I think that's one of the estates that people have talked about, Micah, as we knew at the time. Mm-hmm. And I got this sickening feeling in my stomach that this is what my house is. And people were trying to say, no, they're settling cracks. When I spoke to Donegal County Council, they were having nothing of it. You've bought your house, you're on your own, basically. And, I got the Triconral involved. This is going back 2017 then. Before the Paddy Divers, I didn't know Paddy or anybody then. And I was a relatively young woman. I wasn't 60, but here I am. I'm going to be 68 this year. And I don't know where the motivation has gone. You're sitting here with two angry pensioners. We're not sitting here feeling sorry for ourselves, but we are left out. Nobody cares. And yet we were here at the beginning of the push. We were doing all the talking, the phoning, the emails, interviews. I'm constantly on Twitter trying to keep it relevant.
Of course.
And
Does it feel almost like a double blow in that, not through any fault of anyone in the campaign, of which you've been a strong part of, Kathleen, but you feel sort of, left behind.
Pushed to the side. Yeah. Every now and again, the word will come up, and what about the pensioners? What about the pensioners? Mm-hmm. We don't have the money to rebuild. Who's going to give us any money? We've worked, most of us have worked all our lives, we're taxpayers. And I was just saying to Mary, in the green room, if you like, you feel as if this is what you've worked for all your life, but you're leaving nothing. My children wouldn't care if I had anything to leave for them, but I do. I feel as if this is something I did on my own.
There's I would be classed in the same boat as you, Kathleen, in terms of, I've never had jobs where I can accumulate wealth, if you know what I mean. So there's not a nest egg there. Yeah. There's not anything I can bequeath the children, so to speak. It's kind of all in the house. Now that's providing I don't need that to provide care in my later. You know what I mean?
It's your little mark on life.
That's just all there is. So, and I'm going to come to you in a moment, Mary, and then we can sort of go between the two. Mm-hmm. But, so, when have you had your house tested?
No.
Right. So, in terms of, well, you see, even just to simply get onto the scheme, there's a 800
What's the point of me going on the scheme? And this is it. They say there's. I listened to Ian O'Brien's interview, Dara O'Brien's. They're saying there's 1,800 people that have applied, But believe me, there's about 18,000 people that haven't.
No, of course.
In Ramelton alone, I would say there's about 500 affected houses, and that's just a small little town. So you can imagine, but there is at least 18,000 that I would say. It's a small percentage. That's 1,800 people that can possibly afford to rebuild. What's the point of me getting my house tested when I can't even go on the scheme because I can't raise the money?
So just to paint the picture here, firstly you'd have to engage a surveyor or whatever there. So that's going to be 600, 700, 800 quid.
Yeah.
Then your house has to be fully compliant with all planning regulations, and you just have to get the site checked if it's not all that stuff. And then that's just to be accepted onto the scheme whereby you can get your house bored.
Plus I'm a semi-detached, which makes things even harder. And, I'm going to be 68 this year. I have no idea about becoming a contractor. And that's what's going to be expected of us. We are going to be expected to get our builder, electricians, demolition team. I wouldn't know where to start.
Yeah, but you still don't even know how it would work with your neighbour, your foundations, your inner leaf or anything like that. We'll back and forward. I want to speak to Mary now, Mary O'Regan. You bought a house in Manor.
I did, yes.
This was your forever home, effectively?
It was. The way I put it, I was relocating. And my 2 older boys live abroad, and my youngest son's in Dublin, and my daughter lives in Manor with her husband and her 3 lovely children, her 3 boys. And I wanted to, as I say, I was relocating, and I wanted to be near the family, that I'd have a semblance of family life, yet have my independence. So I chose to move to Manor, and it was a beautiful home, 4-bedroom detached, sunroom, beautiful view, and it seemed perfect. And I suppose we all know there's nothing perfect. And it went well for a few years, and in 2011 I had the house painted, and on one gable end, the paint started to peel in places. So I got the painters back, and I said to them, if you sealed it and then painted it, and they said, right, we'll do that. So they did that, and then again it started to peel, and I couldn't get them back again. So then the cracks started. And there was one neighbour said to me one day, she had heard that these houses weren't very well built. And I thought, no, that can't be right. And so in 2016, in the January, I was diagnosed with cancer, and a couple of months later, as I put it, the house was diagnosed with then mica, and it was just such an awful time. I dealt with the cancer. There was remediation for that, but there was nothing for the defective blocks. I got. When I had the cancer, I got very anxious living on my own. And as I say, it is quite a big house, and my daughter lives in the village as well. And I said to her, would there be any chance that you would take over my house and we build on, as I called it, an annex, but Indians probably call it a granny flat. And I got planning permission. That cost me 2,500 from a reputable firm, and the architect was dealing with me, knew I had cancer, and we said to him about the cracks. I said, sure, everybody's saying the cracks, they've mica. Not at all, he says, not at all. So we even had a contractor, and it was about 2 weeks before to start. I said to my daughter, just let's get the surveyor, and to be sure. Surveyor came out, and he said, are you coming out? No, I said, I'm not. And I knew by the way they walked back in, there was a problem. So he told me, yes, you have mica. And he told me about the Mica Action Group. And he told me that down the road, there would have to be testing, and it was going to be an astronomical price. So I just thought, right, I was working part-time in Dublin. I would go to Dublin every Monday. I used to get up at 4 o'clock and travel to Dublin, work all day and come back that evening. And then I would work remotely the other 4 mornings. And then I took on another job to try and get this money. I took on a job being escort on the school bus. Now, believe you me, that was no picnic. It was early mornings, very early mornings, and then the school had very little parking, so we had to go in an hour before the children got out of school, like for the bus to park. So all that money, it started as, and this is the truth, it had started as a burial fund in the credit union, and then I just started topping that up, and eventually I did get the money together, and I got the testing done. I paid just short of 7,000, and yes, we got 90% back, but it took quite a while to get the 90%. Now, if I owed the government the amount of time they took to give me my 90% back, they'd want interest. We didn't get interest. But I went ahead with it anyway, and I got the surveyor did, it was during lockdown, and he did a Zoom call with myself and my daughter, and he said, look, Mary, there was only 2 options, and one of them was crazy. It was these pylons would have to be put down. He said, Mary, you'd be far better, to rebuild the house. And my daughter looked at me and she says, Mom, have you heard what he just said? And I said, yeah, I have. And so from there, nothing much happened. And then, like, as I say, I had all the results and everything. So I decided then I'd look for a builder. And then I got an architect. And I think I have a builder on site, if you want to put it, but I do have an architect. And he said, right, I was saying I wanted to rebuild the house, so he did plans, and they were submitted in June, and they were finally passed on the 26th July. That was the formal planning permission. The builder gave me a price, not quite sure where it'll all come from, but I started doing something 2 years ago. I started paying into the credit union every week as if I had a loan. So I'd build up a rapport with them, because no bank's going to give me money.
Yeah, I get you.
It'll only be a credit union. But then how am I going to pay that darn thing back?
Is it possible, without asking any personal questions, can you give a percentage or a figure as what the shortfall is between what you would expect to get from the grant and the quote for a price, a like-for-like replacement?
The figures I've been given, I'm looking at 40,000, and it'll probably be 50,000.
No.
Yeah, and like that, I'm looking at all the time I was thinking about the family and what I'm leaving behind.
Yep.
And it's a beautiful house, and it would have been lovely for them, or a good house to sell. Now I don't know. Like, now I'm thinking of, right, Mary, you've got to get yourself sorted. All you do is think about sort of the family and what you want to leave them. You've got to get yourself sorted. You've got to get some kind of a life. I'm 73. I had an extremely bad fall 2 years ago. I did a lot of work in 21
Yes.
And I had this very bad fall, bleeding my brain, fractured skull, and I am left with permanent brain damage, which manifests itself as major fatigue. So I'm not the woman I was 2 years ago, and I'm facing into all this, packing up this house. A friend said to me the other evening on the phone, oh, Mary, how are you going to
What's
do it?
What's motivating you, Mary? Because, with everything you've been through over the last number of years...
Anger, I would say, for
but
both of us.
What is sort of...
I'm not letting the county council do this to me. They're making us dot our I's and cross our T's to a ridiculous extent.
Yeah.
If they had dotted their I's and crossed their T's, we would not be in this horrendous nightmare now. That is fact.
County Council showed me with Storm Aisha. If you look at my house from the front, there's not a mark in it. Actually, the picture that Highland Radio uses of the side of a house,
that's yours.
That's my house, filled. And I have a chunk now out of the back and cracks all along the side. But nobody, during Storm Aisha, that was a status 10. That's evacuation. That's take cover. People were moving into hotels. My daughter asked me, Mum, they have rooms at the Silver Tassie, will we put you in? And I'm like, my house isn't that bad, But let me just say, Donegal County Council didn't care about the pensioners then, the children. They could have said, open a community centre. Open the community centres, let the people take a sleeping bag, take cover. There was no thought, there's no thought for any pensioners. And I hope people remember this when it comes to the elections. We have a redress party.
We're going to come to that.
Okay.
But I do have to take a quick break, and then that means we can talk up to 10, and we'll pick up exactly where you left off there, just so in case you think I'm trying to cut you off. Back in just a couple of minutes.
The 9 till noon show with O'Hara's of Foxford. It takes 18 hours to perfect our new 18-hour fermented sourdough bread. One bite and you'll agree true taste takes time.
Welcome to Boots. How can we help? Is it normal that it stings when I want to support my immune system?
With a fungal nail infection? And why can't I maintain my
earwax build-up and my
retreating hairline? Maybe my blood pressure's
Light, regular, or super plus?
Whatever your question, ask a pharmacist first and get advice without needing an appointment. Boots, with you for life. See boots.ie for details.
Actions speak louder than words, so I'll keep the words to a minimum. Last year, thousands of people chose Seat for their new car. Why? Because with the Arona, Ateca and Tarraco, we have a stunning lineup of SUVs. And we offer a wide range of purchase options to suit your needs. To see what you've been missing out on, visit seat.ie and check out our 241 offers. Visit seat.ie. What? What are you waiting for? Go on. Sayit.ie for our 241 offers.
Hi, Jean Kern here to let you know that our next Highland Radio Book Club choice is Prophet Song by Paul Lynch, Booker Prize winner 2023. On a dark, wet evening, Dublin scientist and mother of four, Eilish Stack, answers her front door to two officers from Ireland's newly formed secret police, who are there to interrogate her trade unionist husband. When her husband disappears, how far will Eilish go to save her family, and what or who is she willing to leave behind? We will review the book on my show on Sunday the 11th of February, and as usual, if you'd like to take part in any review, email me jeankern@highlandradio.com.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by Grant. Building a new home? Choose Grant's A++ rated Arona air to water heat pump and Uflex underfloor heating. Visit grant.ie.
Okay, mostly dry at first with some bright spells developing, but breezy with fresh to strong and gusty southwest winds, turning cloudier as a band of rain moves in, and there could be some heavy showers in that band of rain, by the way. We're in the company of Mary O'Regan and Kathleen Bryant, Tina Bryant, who are both... I don't know, is it discrimination, exclusion? I don't know what it might be, but whichever word you wish to choose, the scheme in its current form is certainly not for them. And Kathleen, you were about to emphasise the importance of this being a local stroke European election issue.
Right. And we already know what Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael are going to do for us. We've had 13 years of it. Donegal County Council, we know what they're going to do for us, which is zilch. But we have a redress party coming along, and they are good, honest, hard-working people. They're taking nobody from any party, so there's nobody tainted here. And they are going for everybody. Nobody is going to be left behind in this redress party. But it's not just about defective homes. They are still going to go and work on the healthcare, inflation, our hospitals, our education system. It is a real party, and we should be supporting them. You know, the same way as we support Paddy Diver, Paul Dunlop, everybody else, we should be supporting this redress party. It's nearly like a resistance. I don't know where the motivation has gone. People don't realise in another 10 years they'll be sitting in the same place that Mary and I are.
From talking to people, it seems to me like they've been beaten down to a point, and also we're at a stalemate. And a lot of people are pinning their hopes on other parties fulfilling their commitments, be it redress, be it Sinn Féin or whatever. Mary, your determination to see this through is
do or die. But
it's being frustrated, though. You have to engage with the system.
Yeah.
So the system is not matching your urgency and your drive.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a vulnerable member of this awful scheme, and like every time I think I'm getting somewhere, and I'll say to a friend, oh yeah, had the builder, had the architect here, yeah, it's going great, and then nothing, and then Paddy will ring me, could be 6 weeks later, well, Mary, how are things going? Only for Paddy Diver, I don't know where I'd be. I'm a blow-in. I don't know many people, but the friends, I don't have a big circle of friends, I have a small circle, but they are salt of the earth, and only for them I don't know where I would be. In my life, I've everybody has knocks in their life, but I was born on Friday the 13th, and as I always say, it's been eventful ever since. Yes. I had two fires two house fires in my married life, and the second one, I had 3 children under 3.5, and I had a baby of 6 weeks old, and I dealt with those. I know what it's like for the younger people, and I know now what it's like for the older people. But really, honestly, only for the like of Paddy, there is a counsellor, I won't use his name, he's been very good to me, Lisa Doherty, only for people like that.
Are you frustrated at the overall apparent lack of momentum in sort of saying, hold on, it's not what it was promised to be, we're being left behind, the shortfalls.
There's no momentum, period.
Do you know what access we have to the defective block scheme? You can phone in on a Tuesday and a Thursday from 9 to 12:30.
Joke.
And I did that, and I got this young girl and I asked her a question, and she said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know. I only started today." So in other words, they're not even putting experienced people on the telephone to us. They're treating us like a lower form of life. And at this stage, I was told at Christmas, before Christmas, a counsellor made an inquiry for me, and he came back and said, "Mary, your file is there, it's kind of ready to go, and you will get, the counsellor will be back to you with whatever redress I'm going to get in January." January's gone. Monday, somebody else inquired for me, and they said, "Oh yes, we've everything now, and she'll hear next month." Okay. I got an email yesterday evening. It actually came in at 6:45 that they need more information. It is soul destroying.
Some people feel it's designed to be unworkable.
Oh, for sure.
But look at the whole thing. It was all started off. You had to do it was computerised. You had to go in a certain portal. There was no hub set up for people who aren't IT orientated. Nothing set up for them. And even for me. I mean, I've used in work. I've used an online banking since it was introduced, but I wouldn't be good on Word or any of those.
Just in the last couple of minutes, and I'm going to come back to you, Kathleen. But just, Mary, what's your biggest fear at the moment?
That I will get this house built and I'll have to sell it. I won't be able to afford it.
Okay. Kathleen, is there anything you want to add? I just want to, in the last couple of minutes, I want to make sure if there's key points that you wanted to get across today that you do.
It's lonely.
Yes, very lonely.
It's very, very lonely because people are sick and tired of listening to you. And if you try to motivate and you say something, people will say, "Oh, we don't want the public to turn against us." The public, believe me, from being on social media, I hear it all the time, they're tired of listening to us as well. Yeah. They're like, what are you going to do about it?
But the problem is
we just keep talking.
I'm saying this as an observer, okay?
Yeah.
And some people might like me at saying it, but I can only say what I see. Is the conversation nationally is that this is a done deal, that everything's there, it's multi-billion, you're all sorted now. Yeah. And if you say anything now, you're moaners.
Yes, whiners.
You want everything.
You're slating
do you know what I mean?
people.
So even that interview that Dara O'Brien had at the start of the week, listening to it, if I were not from here and I didn't know, everything's fixed now, let's move on, let's expand it to more counties.
We're not even in the media. You keep it alive.
Nothing about us in the media now.
You keep it alive, Greg. Yeah. You keep it alive, but we're not in the media.
It comes as a cost too. Yeah. No, I don't care. But speaking about this publicly comes at a cost.
And it comes at a cost for us too.
Yeah, I don't care about me, but that's where we've arrived at now.
Yeah. But like the last prime time that they spoke about Mike about 2 months ago, and they showed then like the area where councillors, TDs and that would sit. There was nobody there, and I said, "Oh my God, that's just pointing it. We're lost. We're completely lost." You'll hear the Minister for Housing speaking about all the houses that are being built and temporary housing for other people. There's no temporary housing for us. That's another thing. We have to go and look for a home. And I did that. I went and I literally went down the street and went into a place.
We have nowhere to go.
No, nowhere to go.
And we have nobody to trust in. We trust Paddy Diver, Lisa Doherty,
Paddy Diver is just...
The Rushing Gallagher's, Joy Beard.
Yeah.
Those are people that you trust that are good people. Yeah. But anybody that's in the media and has something to say in the newspapers or that they can have airtime, like Donegal County Councillors, like Fianna Gael, Fianna Fáil, they're not helping us. They're giving us no answers. Dara O'Brien is saying what he wants everybody to believe.
Yeah.
And if you're not a defective homeowner, you are going to believe that. But there's 15 counties affected here. And they're talking about expanding it, which when they talk about expanding it, I don't know about you, Mary, it scares me even more because I feel I'm even pushed further down the list now.
And listen, at the end of the day, there's a tiny percentage of affected people that have entered into this scheme. And if they have, how far have they progressed within it? Because even with your dogged determination, Mary and Kathleen, but just Mary with the story you're telling, it's a battle to get a phone call answered to progress it. Okay. Kathleen Bryant, thank you very much for calling up to us. I do appreciate it. Mary O'Regan, thank you as well.
And thank you very much.
I hope I don't know what it is going to be. I am inherent skeptic at this pace, cynic. We've all seen it all before. Will things change? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
We can't keep doing the same old, and we can't just keep,
insanity definition, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Listen, both of you, thank you very much for calling.
Thank you very much.
We'll be back with more after the news and obituary notices, and the news is just going to be a minute or two late. We'll be right back.
The 9 till noon show with O'Hara's of Foxford. We take 18 hours to craft our new 18-hour fermented sourdough bread. Now's the perfect time to enjoy a slice.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why.
The Lotto jackpot is a guaranteed €2 million. Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
In the final clearance of Watson Menswear, there's great savings across top labels. A great selection of footwear, shirts and knitwear, half price. Selected suits and kids' clothing, also half price. There's dress shirts, 2 for €40, and denims, 2 for just €70. Don't miss out on some great bargains in the final clearance now on at Watson Menswear, Main Street, Letterkenny, and online at watsonmenswear.com. Confirmation wear also now in stock.
The big winter sale is now on at Ben Sweeney Euronics in Letterkenny and Dunlow. Get a Samsung 43-inch smart LED TV for €389. The Miele Classic Powerline vacuum cleaner for just €169. Or the new Ninja Blast portable blender for only €59. Save big in the Euronics winter sale, now on in Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny, and the shopping centre, Dunlow.
Sailor Bill returns to the Ballard Theatre on Saturday the 3rd of February, a night of music and crack with special guest Chelsea Evans. Tickets are €15, are available on the Ballard website at ballardartcentre.com or by calling to the Ballard Theatre front desk.
Easy Living Furniture's biggest ever winter sale ends this Sunday. This is your final chance to avail of these amazing discounts, as this whopper winter sale must end Sunday. Absolutely everything reduced across sofa, dining, bedroom, mattress and accessories. Winter sale must end Sunday at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, just gone 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the Highland Radio News Desk. There'll be close scrutiny of the UK government's deal with the DUP, details of which are to be published later. The agreement includes new legislation to end post-Brexit checks on British goods moving to Northern Ireland and remaining there. The DUP pulled the plug on power sharing at Stormont, and after 2 years, there are still a number of unresolved pay disputes. Marie Irwin, a special needs teacher in Belfast, says the impact of the Stormont shutdown has been enormous.
People have no belief in our government anymore. People are sad, and I think mental health levels have risen hugely in this small country, and I do think that that has a direct impact to us not having a government up and running.
Post-Brexit controls on food, plants and animal imports into the UK from the EU come into force today. Meat and dairy, fruit, veg and cut flowers will require specific health certificates, with Taoiseach Micheál Martin and Agriculture Minister Charlie McConalogue urging Irish exporters to ensure that they're prepared for the new regulations. The cost to British businesses could be in the hundreds of millions, pushing up prices. Peter Hardwick from the British Meat Processors Association says more negotiation is needed.
We should sit down with the European Union
negotiate a comprehensive veterinary agreement based on alignment. That would wipe away this problem overnight, remove all the costs. It would also significantly resolve the issues in relation to goods moving to Northern Ireland.
Uisce Éireann is warning that repairs to a burst water main may cause supply disruptions to Carn Road, Cure, Ardmore Lower, Whitecastle, Redcastle, Quigley's Point and surrounding areas in South Inishowen. A traffic management plan is in place for the duration of the works, which are set to take place until 4 o'clock this afternoon. Members of Donegal County Council have been briefed on the new deposit return scheme, which comes into effect tomorrow. A levy of 15 cent will be imposed on cans or bottles containing 500 millilitres or less, and 25 cent on containers holding above 500 millilitres, with the charge being redeemed when the bottle or can is recycled in a special return machine. Machines are being placed in larger shops, smaller shops and other premises have been granted exemptions. The presentation to Donegal County Council this week was made by the authority's Director of Water and Environment Services, Michael McGarvey. He says while there may be initial issues, the scheme is a very important one.
I'm sure we will run into some teething problems initially, but I think that this is something that we welcome and we think will help support the really good work that our community groups, our tidy town groups, etc. throughout the country are doing. We have 5,500 to 6,000 volunteers out there on the big spring clean-up in the coming weeks and months, and this will definitely help be a step in the right direction.
An Inishowen councillor says Donegal County Council must take the lead in ensuring government is fully aware of the level of deprivation in the county. Councillor Albert Doherty says the Pobble Deprivation Index released last November shows Donegal was ranked the most disadvantaged county in the state. He told members that areas of Inishowen are among the worst affected, but still don't qualify for CLAR funding. Councillor Doherty wants the council to analyse and collate the data so that a case can be made to government for additional resources and social inclusion measures.
I have at all times been arguing for an increase, an extension of the CLAR programme to include areas in Inishowen. Once again, there are many significantly disadvantaged areas have not access to CLAR. We must collate and find out why Donegal has remained and not changed from being the most socially disadvantaged, and that's the effort that we all must put our shoulder behind the wheel.
Police in Strabane are appealing for information about the theft of a power washer from a property in the town. It's believed the red Pro 3000 pressure washer was taken from the rear of a property in Olympic Drive sometime between the 4th and 19th of January. Police are urging anyone who knows where it is or has been offered a power washer for sale in suspicious circumstances to contact them. And a status yellow wind warning remains in place in Donegal, Galway, Leitrim, Mayo and Sligo this morning. It's still in effect until 1 o'clock this afternoon. There's one power outage in the county at the moment. That's in Bundoran, with ESB Networks saying the 41 homes and businesses affected there should have their power restored by 4:15 this afternoon. Met Éireann is warning of wave overtopping in coastal areas with strong and gusty southwesterly winds and rain spreading from the northwest. And looking at the forecast, turning very windy for a time today, mostly dry at first with some bright spells, but breezy, fresh to strong and gusty southwest winds becoming more pronounced through the morning, turning cloudier with a band of rain moving in from the northwest toward mid-morning. That's starting to hit around about now in Donegal. That's going to bring stronger winds. The rain should clear by mid-afternoon, followed by drier, clearer and colder conditions, with winds decreasing fresh westerly. Top temperatures today 9 or 10 degrees Celsius. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news headlines again at 11. Check all of today's news on our website, highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, have a very good morning. The obituary notices for this Wednesday morning, the 31st of January. The death has taken place of Aisling Little, Nae McShane, Sean Cregan Stranorner, formerly of Kilcar. Her remains will repose at her late residence from 12 noon today. Funeral from there on Friday morning at 10:15 for 11 o'clock funeral mass in the Church of Mary Immaculate, Stranorner, with burial afterwards in Drumbo Cemetery. Family time, please, from 10 p.m. to 12 noon, and on the morning of the funeral. Rosary nightly at 9. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu to Breast Care Centre Northwest, care of any family member or Terence McClintock, Funeral Director. The funeral mass can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. The death has taken place of Mary Doherty, née Patton, Upper Dromore, Letterkenny. Mary's remains will repose at her late residence today and tomorrow from 2 p.m. until 10 p.m. A celebration of Mary's life and prayers will take place at the family home at 11:30 on Friday morning, followed by interment in Conwall Cemetery, Letterkenny. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the palliative care team, Donegal Hospice, care of any family member. The death has occurred of Plunkett Bar, Binion Road, Clonmany. His remains will repose at his home with all welcome today from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Funeral from his home tomorrow morning at 11:15, going to St Michael's Church, Erris, for Requiem Mass at 11:30, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. House private, please, before the funeral tomorrow. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to Carndonagh Community Hospital Patients Comfort Fund, care of any family member or Comiskey Funeral Directors. The funeral mass can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. The death has taken place of Elizabeth Lizzie Peoples, Court, Milford, reposing at her home. Funeral service tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock in Milford Presbyterian Church, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time, please, from 10 p.m. to 12 noon. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Friends of Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member. And the death has occurred of Kevin Donaghy, Darney Bruckles. Kevin's body is being donated for medical research. The house is private, please. A celebration of Kevin's life will take place in St John's Church, Killybegs, on Friday at 12 noon. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
The 100% electric new Nissan Ariya is now on Irish roads, which means you'll discover the game-changing silhouette that sets it apart, as well as its luxurious interior inspired through Japanese design. Then you'll discover the smooth acceleration, quiet operation and advanced technology that makes every drive a pleasure. The new Nissan Ariya from €43,500. Test drive it today and discover outstanding. Nissan, innovation that excites. Dealer delivery and related charges apply.
And now, IMRO's 2023 Best Local or Regional News Programme, The Voice of the Northwest, the 9 till noon show, with Greg Hughes.
And the voice of the Northwest is your voice. And thanks to Mary and Kathleen, two incredibly powerful women on the programme there just before 10, outlining their experiences of trying to engage with the defective concrete redress scheme. Greg, had the government no obligation to fix these houses, says the listener? Well, the obligation, as they see it, has been outlined in the scheme, I suppose. Another caller says, I cannot understand why these homeowners haven't all withheld their mortgage payments, collapsed the banks. Why is it okay for bank managers to collapse our banks and send our country into a bailout, but not the public? The only thing this government will listen to is a bank collapse. Well, I mean, there's a couple of things with that, and I get where you're coming from, and there's, you probably know more than I do. I'm sure you do, and many others do. Firstly, I don't think it would collapse the banks, for a starter, because there's probably, even though there's an awful lot of people affected, it's probably, not a percentage that would be required to do that. Secondly, the scheme as it's laid out, a lot of people are going to have to seek finance and are seeking finance. You refuse to pay your mortgage, you can't do that. You can't go to your credit union, you can't go to your banks, you can't get a bridging loan. Your property, you could lose your property as well, of course. You couldn't get a mobile phone. You probably couldn't pay for your car insurance over 10 months, as some people have to. So there are great consequences for purposely destroying or defaulting on a mortgage. So I get where you're coming from, but I don't think it could ever be done on a scale organised enough that it would have the impact. I think people would just be left individually banjaxed financially. Listening to these very strong women, we're certainly not sick of hearing your terrible story. Keep fighting, says a listener. Another, the banks need to work with people. It's impossible to move on to demolishing and getting the house up to subfloor level to get the first stage payment. No builder's going to go without money for average of 3 months, indeed. And that's for those who have access to credit as well. There are some people who are older, and even if the banks were to come to the table, would they agree on a term, and what happens if that person were to pass away, and so on and so forth. These are the realities of the crisis we're facing, because there's so many different people with different scenarios. We haven't even talked about those with, the farming community, who have been greatly affected by this problem as well. They aren't really included in this scheme at all, and many I've spoken to don't want to speak out because they feel that with people worrying about their homes, they don't feel they can speak about their businesses, if that makes sense. Those in social housing as well, though, hopefully they're with the tenders that are going out, that is the scheme is being employed in a way that will work for them. Those in community, in community or office buildings, community facilities, where are all they in all of this? Thank you, Greg, for allowing an outlet for those affected. My defective block issue. That's why certain puppet ministers won't come on your show. Well done again to you and your team. And the application process, says the caller, is ridiculous. And I've just provisionally exploring it, and it is a nightmare. I noted DCC that I may have notified Donegal County Council that I may have defective concrete. A number of unqualified tradesmen have stated I probably have. I've told DCC a number of times. The home has not been tested, and thankfully cracks are not too bad, but widening, and no kids in my house. But I would like to know if I have it or not. Recently, DCC contractors filled in cracks and painted over them. House looks great, but Mike is still there, I would say. Well, look, there's vertical crack meeting a horizontal crack, and the crack over a millimetre. That if that's what you have, I think that's the basic line. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, that's the basic line really you have to cross. That's the threshold. Now, to get told you have that, it's going to cost hundreds and hundreds of euro, and then you have to start the process of applying for the scheme before you can even get tested. So, but you're in a council house. Why can't the department, through county councils, employ tradesmen on a full-time basis to complete works on a house? A win for everyone. Bulk buying would mean better buying power and cheaper for the department. Tradesmen's guaranteed full-time employment. Well, that seems to be the Sinn Féin policy, and it is the council's policy or the state's policy in terms of council-owned houses, but not for the individual homeowner. They're expected on a case-by-case, individual-by-individual basis to fully manage the scheme from beginning to end. Right, some more comments here. Let me see. I only found out my 16-year-old was vaping because I found it when making his bed. I'm dead against vapes, I know, and I bet you thought yours, and we've all been down that route, or many of us have, bet you thought yours wasn't, and there you find it, and there he is, or she is. Caller says that there should be education in secondary schools regarding addictive behaviours in all areas, alcohol, vaping, drugs, etc. Once you become addicted, you have to live with it and try and manage it for the rest of your life. There should be an education on societal pressures and psychological effects of addiction. And again, the problem with the vapes is, and again, for anyone listening, it's most likely you've given up smoking. It's always there, I think, that you did smoke once or that you could relapse and have another. You know, nicotine, you don't just do it for a bit and then stop. That's what really worries me about the young people, because if you can't get a vape, you will go and get a cigarette because your body tells us that you do need nicotine. It's really tough. It's really tough. And we're going to have a whole crop of, thousands, tens of thousands of young people with this real strong addiction. Nicotine is so hard to come away from. And if you have been addicted to it, you really kind of spend a lot of the rest of your life, avoiding slipping back into it. Health insurance in Donegal's a waste of money. You're paying for urgent care centres for people in Dublin, says a listener. Hi, Greg. Does anyone know what the problem is with Air Wi-Fi in the Convoy area? Been out since the storm. Contacted Air and they said they'll fix it as soon as they can, but it could take weeks. So that's the broadband, effectively. It's the Wi-Fi in the house, but I presume... Sorry, just to be clear, are you on about mobile broadband in the Convoy area or your house broadband? Let us know. We'll make contact with Air as well, see if we can get a more formal answer for you. Hi, my son also seen the light in the sky around 3ish just over the A7 in Letterkenny, Arena 7. I showed him the video of fireballs and the Starlink, but he said what he seen was different. He was so worked up and said it looked like it was going to land, as he described, close to Tower Court area. Okay, so and this person showed fireballs and Starlink. Wasn't that? Please tell Greg that I saw the silver-like object pass through the sky on Monday, also from Enniskillen. It was going quite fast, just appeared and disappeared within seconds, and I thought it might have been a meteorite passing through the atmosphere, but maybe it was a satellite. Brendan Gallagher in Enniskillen. Brendan, great to have you listening in Enniskillen, by the way. Thanks for choosing Highland. I'd love to know why, if you want to message us back. Not that there should be a why, but I do really appreciate it. I don't know what. Could it be a UFO? Let's just go crazy and say it was a UFO. Have you seen the UFO? Was there aliens in it? Gregory, home insurance. My renewal came in at €417. Called them up and they said the best they could do was $390. And that's me being a returning customer. Decided to price around via a broker and got the same company for $320 as a new customer. Where's the customer loyalty? Well, please. They're not loyal to us. We shouldn't be loyal to them. That applies to mobile phones, broadbands, house insurance, car insurance. I've saved a fortune over the last number of years shopping around. VHI are putting up the prices due to consultants putting up their prices. I asked how much an injection that I was getting was. It was twice the price when I claimed it through the VHI. The consultant told me off the record that prices are higher for patients with insurance. Okay. Receipts for work done can't even be uploaded onto the council's website. They won't accept emails. This means money isn't being paid out for work done. That's on the MICA scheme. Council down filling potholes, throwing it into water and rolling it with the wheel of a lorry. A waste of time and money especially. No drains or tables opened. All it's going to do is sticking to cars passing over it. I'm not a expert. Doesn't seem ideal there. And just lastly, before we take the bingo numbers, congratulations to Stevie Toy at Logo Picks. He won the Irish Wedding Photographer of the Year last night in the Crown Plaza in Dublin. That's 2 years in a row. Well done to you, Stevie. All right, back with more after these.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Wednesday, the 31st of January. You're playing on the blue sheet. The reference number is S3. It's game number 5. The numbers are 89, 32, 7, 24, 73, 45, 3, 72, 5, and finally 15. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book. And we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Hi, Nathan Carter here, and I'm delighted to say I've just had 2 installations from Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, and I have to say their attention to detail is second to none. With their sleek design and craftsmanship, your dream kitchen is just a visit away. So why not head over to Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms and let the magic begin.
Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, Donegal Town. More kitchens your way since 1996. Visit cherrymore.ie or call 9725822 to book your free design appointment.
Are you interested in the Creeconia Vacant Property Refurbishment Grant? If so, come along to the New Build and Renovate Expo 2024 at the Mount Errigal Hotel in Letterkenny from Friday 2nd until Sunday 4th of February to speak with Donegal County Council Regeneration Team staff. Owners looking to renovate their existing dwellings will be given the opportunity to talk face-to-face to discuss grant options.
Nutrius Milk Replacer range, which includes NutriStart and NutriStart Plus, offers the best start to your calves this spring season. With 23% and 25% crude proteins, ideal for calf to beef and heifers rearing systems. Give your calves the best possible start. Available in your local Homeland store. Visit nutrius.ie for full nutritional information.
The 9 till noon show with O'Hara's of Foxford. Our new Baker 51 authentic sourdough celebrates 72 years of baking. Now's the perfect time to try it for yourself.
The HSC has urged parents to vaccinate their children against measles after an increase in cases across Britain and Europe. Measles is a potentially serious and highly infectious disease that spreads easily through respiratory droplets. Dr. Anthony Breslin is a consultant in public health medicine and is with us on the programme now. Good morning, Anthony. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Greg. Not at all. Thank you for the opportunity.
Talk to us a little bit about measles, you know, what it is, who it affects, what can happen if someone catches it.
Okay. Well, measles has the unfortunate reputation of being one of the most easily transmittable infections. So it's very, very easy to transmit. For instance, if a child with measles goes into a GP surgery and is there for more than 20 minutes, we have to conclude that anybody else in that surgery waiting room is exposed. We have to take action to follow them up. So that's how infectious it is. Thankfully, we don't have many cases, but some of the older listeners might remember when it was a more severe disease. Most people got it. For most people, it was an annoying infection. They were off school for a day or two. They got an extra comic or a bit of ice cream. But what we forget, because we're not seeing the numbers, thankfully, is that it can be a very serious infection. It can lead to pneumonias. It can lead to neurological problems, deafness, vision problems. It can lead to children being admitted to hospital and going to ICU. And unfortunately, it can lead to deaths. And back in 2002, there was an outbreak in the eastern part of the country around Dublin. And at that stage, there were a number of children hospitalised and there were 3 deaths, unfortunately. So the historical memory is gone there. Grandmothers might remember it, but parents and young people may not remember it, but it can be a serious infection and it's very, very transmissible. And that's why we want to stop it happening.
Is it easy to identify why we are seeing such an increase in cases, particularly across Europe and Britain?
Because vaccination has dropped Europe-wide. 10 years ago, we in the Northwest would have had almost 95% uptake of the vaccine, and you need that. We're now down to 80% uptake of the vaccine. And that's mirrored in other parts of the country, and it's also in the same in Europe and the UK. And because it's so transmissible, once it gets into community, it does get around. And the reason we need such high uptake is that we need to protect people directly. If they get the vaccine, they shouldn't get the infection. Then there's a small group of people who can't get vaccines for medical reasons, whatever. And then there's another small group who they get the vaccine, but the vaccine doesn't take. Mm-hmm. So what we want to do is get as many people vaccinated so that the virus might come in, but it can't transmit, it can't go anywhere.
And this is not necessarily something brand new. I mean, you know, we could, and we have in the past, and I don't want to sound like a scratch record, but, you know, there's a lot of talk about vaccines post-COVID. But if you look at historically where there have been spikes in cases, it does tend to follow a viral conversation about vaccines, you know what I mean? So when those...
it does. I mean, I suppose the thing what you're might be alluding to there is the Wakefield situation in the early 2000s, when there was a spurious attempt to link the MMR to autism based on a study with 8 children, which is phenomenally poor study, and the Lancet, which printed it, retracted it. Other people who were involved in the study retracted it, and Dr. Wakefield was struck off the medical register in the UK because it was fraudulent research, not just bad research, it was fraudulent.
But a spike in measles followed that controversy. Enough people it stuck with.
Yeah, it did. It did indeed, and it struck. And if you look at the autism issue, if it was linked to autism, why are autism cases increasing? Relatively small, but they are increasing. But yes, measles vaccination was stable or decreasing. So there is not a link there at all. But we're concerned because at the moment now we have cases in France, cases in Austria, cases in the UK, and people travel a lot more. We have the midterm coming up. We'll have people going to Europe on holidays and skiing trips and everything else. And we'll have people coming to Ireland, to the Northwest, and we don't want them getting measles. We don't want them getting sick. Whatever about a mild case, we don't want that happening, but we don't want people getting very sick and ending up with severe consequences.
Okay, so when normally is the MMR vaccine offered?
It's given in 2 doses. First dose is around 12, 13 months, and the second dose then is given just preschool. The 1 dose is good, 2 doses is better. We wait until 12 months because children, younger children have some maternal antibodies, and that stops a good immune response. Ironically, they have some minor protection from the maternal antibodies they get during pregnancy, but they don't give a good immune response. So, for instance, when we have an outbreak, we might give the vaccine to children from 6 months up, but once the outbreak is over, we forget about that dose, and they have to get another dose at 12 months.
So two other questions then. How would a parent or guardian, because I've been through this before and it can be quite complicated if you miss the booklet or something like that there, how can you determine, and believe it or not, people do forget a few years later, how can you determine if the child has had one or two or no? You probably remember if they had no, but they could have been off sick for the second one and didn't get a catch up.
Yeah, things happen.
So how do you determine? And the second part of that question is if it's a case that they didn't get either or, how do you go about actually then getting it?
Okay, first of all, you might have an immunisation record, and you've no doubt put that in a safe place. You've forgotten where it is. But if you can get it, it's in that. If even you can't get that, you can contact your GP, and your GP will have records there. And if you do need it, your GP will get the vaccine for you. And it's one injection. And don't forget, it protects against measles, mumps, and rubella. And the rubella is very important for women for down the line if they're going to have children.
Okay, so check with your GP if you don't have that information.
Yes.
Okay, listen, thank you very much for that, Anthony. Go ahead, did you want to say one thing else?
No, thank you for the opportunity.
No problem.
And I'm not trying to scaremonger, but just with the holidays coming up, etc., we just don't want people to have problems.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Symptoms include high fever, cough, runny nose, characteristic red rash, any symptoms like that. Or you've been in contact with someone with measles, you're advised to stay at home and contact your doctor by phone for advice, such as its transmissibility. You heard Dr. Anthony Bresson there. I'm not telling you what to do. I give you the information from the people that have trained in this area, and then you decide. The parish of Ernie and Castlefin are holding a St. Bridget's night and making of crosses. It's in Donnylloop Community Centre from 7 p.m. tonight. A fun-filled night in store, keeping our tradition going. Everyone welcome. Okay, good, if you get along to that. Can you please play a request for Mary McAuliffe from Dunfanaghy, who is 103 years old today, from all her friends in Falcarra. Happy birthday to you, Mary. Hope you're spoilt rotten, and I'm sure you are. A comment in relation to getting house insurance and the risk of flooding, but it's not the risk of flooding, it's actually being close to a water source. The air code will be verified on GeoMap for flood zones for all of Ireland by the insurance underwriting team. Ask for the insurance company to clarify if they're applying a non-standard loading. Ask the insurance company to clarify such a jump in rate. Discounts that applied last year may not apply now, as in the customer moved car to another company, etc. Insurers give discounts if members of the credit union. Some employer schemes, motor policy also, same with insurance being claim free. Cheers. Thanks for a listener there. Yep, there's a lot of variables there. Well pointed out by that listener. Hi Highland, I heard yesterday that the VHI is owned by the government. Figure that out. Listen to Peter Boylan on News Talk. The government pay private hospitals for work. People pay VHI. The government own VHI. I'm not sure the government own VHI. I'm just going to have to check into that. VHI, can Greg do a piece on this? And if electricity bills less than 150, no government subsidy. So a single person out working, an older person, etc., no relief. Who decided that? Right, I don't know. 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number, 086 60 25,000, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with O'Hara's of Foxford, introducing our new Baker 51 authentic sourdough bread, a delicious new addition to the team.
It's important to take care of yourself when you're feeling unwell. And if you have symptoms of a virus, flu, or COVID-19, the best thing to do is to rest up and stay at home. Because you won't just be taking care of yourself, you'll be helping to protect other people too. People close to you, like family and friends, and people you've never even met who might be at higher risk than you. And don't forget to visit hse.ie for advice on getting better. From the HSE.
Celebrate Pancake Tuesday with Dunnes Stores. Whip up a batch with fresh eggs, 6 for €1.40. Or choose an 8-pack of our ready-made pancakes for just €1.15. Then add your favourite toppings, like a sprinkle of sugar with 49-cent lemons, or chocolate and hazelnut spread. 400-gram jar, only €1.25. And for that finishing touch, you can save with a 5 off 25 grocery voucher. Dunnes Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next in-store grocery shop of €25 or more.
Mary here from the cosmetic department at McGee's Pharmacy to let you know that Clarence have a great skincare gift available this week. Buy 2 Clarence products, one to be skincare, and you'll get a choice of 4 treat-size essentials from a selection of 8. Which 4 will you choose? This great Clarence offer is available until Saturday the 10th of February or while stocks last in store and online at mcgees.ie. And remember, for any skincare advice, you can always talk to Gemma or myself here at McGee's Chemist on Main Street, Letterkenny, where the best costs less.
Do you currently have vacancies that need urgently filled? Have you tried various ways to find new staff but didn't succeed? Let Highland Radio help you source and fill your current vacancies in the most cost-effective way. Simply sign up to our new job spot and we will tell our listeners about your vacancies both on air and online. Every Monday, Wednesday and Friday during our primetime shows, we will broadcast the latest job opportunities across the Northwest and into counties Derry and Tyrone. All job listings will be available online at highlandradio.com. For more information, contact the advertising team on 07491 25322 or email advertising@highlandradio.com. Highland Radio, we're here for you.
Okay, welcome back to the 9 till noon show. So, the British government is set to publish details of its deals with the DUP to restore Stormont power sharing. It's expected to include legislation which could be fast-tracked through Parliament on Thursday, tomorrow. The move follows the DUP's endorsement of the agreement on Monday, subject to laws proposed in the deal being passed. DUP leader Jeffrey Donaldson said the plans provide a basis for Stormont to return, but obviously there's a lot of waiting to see that devil in the detail phrase being used in relation to that. Senator Niall Blaney is a spokesperson on Northern Ireland and member of the Good Friday Agreement Committee. Good morning to you, Senator. This is, of course, on the face of it, very good news. Is it news that you were expecting?
You couldn't really say you were expecting it, Greg. You were expecting more no's. If I'm being honest about it, I didn't expect it. I think we got to a stage where we weren't expecting the DUP to take the final jump, given they haven't taken it so close a number of times recently. But I think in the protests changed the attitude of people in Northern Ireland. And I think the Baker could be my team there, Greg.
Okay, hopefully it's not too big a distraction.
No, it's okay, it's grand.
Is it all right? Okay. Actually, I'll tell you what the problem is.
People really made up their minds. People were just fed up. There were actually some unions threatening to vote for Sinn Féin. Moreover, people are fed up with the fact that Stormont hasn't been in place.
What do you think? I mean, obviously, on the first instance, and that echo should have been relieved now at this stage. On the first instance, this is good news, getting power sharing back up and running and all of that. And of course, then releasing money that the British government had committed, which triggered, which would help, obviously, offset any future strikes by public workers and what have you. But it does mean there's wider work now for that will benefit not only Northern Ireland but us here in the Northwest region going forward, that hopefully progress can be made on now.
No, absolutely, Greg. I suppose the 10T is at the perfect point, and the case study is about to go to government now. And that's important, because once the Cabinet decides on that case study, we're no longer sitting waiting for the next stage to happen and approval. once they approve the project, they realise the funding deficit required to finish that project, and that's timely because the N2A5 that has to be the priority now as well, to move that project forward. And all this is starting to come together, knit together just at the right time, and it's particularly good news for us in the Northwest, but moreover for the people in Northern Ireland. And we have to ensure that what happened over the last 8 years, where 5 of those years there was no assembly, we have to ensure that the likes of the DUP and Sinn Féin can't do that again. We can't just throw all the toys out of the pram when things don't go our way. There needs to be a better way, and democracy has to work better for the people of Northern Ireland and the border counties, and particularly us in Donegal, because we are so aligned with the northern border, and it's really important for us that democracy does work, and we do get to move on and make things happen.
Do you believe the internal issues in the DUP could scupper anything here? Because Jeffrey Donaldson initially, I think he said this effectively gets rid of the sea border, which has been such an issue. The language has changed a little bit today because the New Deal means no checks on most goods crossing from Great Britain to Northern Ireland. Most goods staying in Northern Ireland will not need checks or customs declarations. That most word is becoming interesting now, and there are a lot of people that want to take him down politically. Will this process, do you think, survive? Will he survive the process, and will this process survive unionism, the power struggle within it, do you think?
Well, I think the power struggle isn't within unionism. It's within the DUP itself.
Okay, fair enough, yeah.
But what's important here is that the DUP party, when it met the executive, they have made the positive contribution here. They have decided as an executive, while maybe not everybody's on board, they have decided that they're going ahead back into Stormont, into Parliament. And with that, they're also approving the setting up of the institutions, North-South institutions, and the North-South Ministerial Council. And that's a really, really important statement. And what happens from here, I suppose in a way we're second guessing, Greg. I think we need to run what we have. We need to make sure that the Parliament is up and running as soon as possible the next few days. And I think when that happens and the economy starts to get a bounce back, and those that are actually crying out for wage increases get it, I think the people will respond to that. And I think some of the negativity that has been around it in relation to the DUP and what to do next, I think it'll wade and things will move on in a positive light.
Mayor Lou McDonald, I can't find the exact quotes now at this point, has sort of said that, these developments make it inevitable that there'll be an end to partition. I'm paraphrasing. Touching distance of a united Ireland, she says, as she's pictured with Mary Lou McDonald and Michelle O'Neill this after the deal was announced to get Stormont back up and running. What do you think? Do you have any concern with the timing of those comments as power sharing hasn't been actually restored yet? And as I say, that's the commentary.
Well, number one, it's not helpful, but it's funny, the rhetoric in relation to United Ireland from Sinn Féin, because if you go back to the last Stormont election, for the whole campaign, United Ireland wasn't mentioned once, and you'll see in any election, north or south, Sinn Féin won't touch United Ireland. There's no word of it whatsoever, and this is just a bit of rhetoric to play to our own supporters. Sinn Féin are as real about a United Ireland as Putin is about pulling out of Ukraine. The only people that can make that happen is people on both sides of the border driving forward in a way that there's a peaceful settlement. Sinn Féin can't create a peaceful settlement, and the more they talk it up, they're actually pushing it further away. And they know that too, and they play to the bandwagon when it suits them. But more importantly, they have a strong mandate, very strong mandate, and they've rightly taken up their position. Michelle O'Neill taking up her position as First Minister, and we wish them well, genuinely wishing them well, because we need good, strong governance now. We need a proper democracy that works, and we need people in the north of Ireland as public representatives leading from the point of view of building relationships with their colleagues across the floor and those in government with them to ensure that we have a lasting democracy. Decisions have been made. And issues like the likes of Loughney.
Just talking about helpful comments, and I asked you the question, I'm completely unaware of your answer, but as a spokesperson on Northern Ireland, on behalf of your party and a member of the Good Friday Agreement Committee, do you think the language that you used in relation to Sinn Féin, making comparisons between Putin and Sinn Féin, do you think that's helpful, that maybe everyone needs to sort of choose the words a little bit more carefully?
Well, I wasn't making comparisons between Putin and Sinn Féin. Mm-hmm. I just said the likelihood of him pulling out of Ukraine, well, that was next to none. That's not making a comparison, Greg.
Okay. But overall, you're optimistic going forward, and
absolutely optimistic going forward. Absolutely, and we need that optimism, and I suppose I think probably need to tone down the political end for a while, and it's about being real, making key decisions for people. Issues like the Loughney that is plagued with disease, etc. A lough that provides about 40% of Northern Ireland's drinking water. Mm-hmm. These are the type of issues that affect people's everyday lives that need to be tackled now head on and sorted out.
Thank you very much for your time. That is Senator Niall Blaney there, spokesperson on Northern Ireland for his party and member of the Good Friday Agreement Committee. Now, all this week, Highland Radio is working in conjunction with the HSE. Delighted to be part of this Dementia Understands Together campaign. There are 6 simple actions we can all take to support someone with dementia. These include see the person, not the dementia. Talk about it. Stay in touch. Make sure your service or space is easy to use for people, all different types of people. Support the person to keep up hobbies and interests, really quite important, as is ask how you can help them. If you want more information, you can go on to understandtogether.ie, or you can call 1-800 341 341. Here's a little bit more information for you.
About a person living with dementia, do you focus on the word living with, or just dementia? It is possible for people living with dementia to live a fulfilling life, and having the support of a community can really help. A community that sees the person, not the dementia. A community that talks about and acknowledges the condition. A community that supports and engages with families and carers. There are 6 key actions we can all take to ensure that people with dementia and their families are respected, supported and connected. See the person, not the dementia. Talk about dementia. Ask how you can help. Stay in touch. Support people to keep up hobbies and interests. Make sure your service or space is easy to use. For more information, visit understandtogether.ie or call the national helpline provided by the Alzheimer's Society of Ireland on free phone 1800 341 341 from the HSE.
The 9 till noon show with O'Hara's of Foxford, introducing our new 18-hour fermented sourdough bread. A winner with the whole family.
Join the Highland Radio Outside broadcast team this Friday from 12 till 2:30 p.m. for a live broadcast from the Mount Errigal Hotel, Letterkenny, for the start of the 3-day Donegal New Build and Rebuild Home Show. We will be speaking to some of the exhibitors and organisers to preview this event. Admission is free to the show.
The menopause is a very inclusive condition. You don't have to get it to suffer from it.
Uncle Dee's hilarious show, How to Get the Menopause and Enjoy It, comes to On Green on Letterkenny, February the 2nd, and Bala Arts Centre Ballybuffet, February 17th.
I phoned up my mammy and I went, I'm thinking of HRT. And she said, what's wrong with the bank you're with?
For full details, go to angledee.com.
iMotors are your main Nissan dealership in the Northwest, a trusted Japanese brand for generations. Contact iMotors to find out why people who make the move to Nissan never change. To check out our 2-for-1 offers, visit imotors.ie.
When it comes to electrical waste recycling, we're pretty good with the big items like fridges, dishwashers and TVs. But what about those mystery cables or broken mobile phones? We throw them in a drawer, along with that ancient laptop that just might come in handy someday. The good news? You can recycle anything with a plug, battery or cable for free. And it couldn't be easier. For a list of drop-off points and participating retailers, just go to mywaste.ie. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
On the wings of a snow.
Hot Country TV Sky 588 in association with Highland Radio present in concert a tribute to country music legend Charlie Bride by his brother Stephen and six-piece band with guests at the Mount Erigal Hotel, Letterkenny, Wednesday 27th of March 2024. Hear over 40 of Charlie Bride's hits. This is a concert not to be missed. Tickets €25. Available from hotel reception now.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by Grant. Building a new home? Choose Grant's A++ rated Airona air-to-water heat pump and Uflex underfloor heating. Visit grant.ie.
Breezy today and turning very windy for a time across the northwest. Mostly dry at first with some bright spells developing, but as I said, breezy with fresh to strong and gusty southwest winds. Now, I'd never doubt our listeners, and the listener earlier on who pointed out that the VHI is in fact a state-owned statutory corporation. That is indeed correct. The Voluntary Health Insurance Board, which trades as VHI Healthcare, is the largest health insurance company in Ireland, and it is a state-owned enterprise, a government entity which is established or nationalised by a national or provincial government by an executive order or an act of legislation. This in order to earn profit for government, control monopoly of the private sector entities, provide products. That's some of the phraseology you can associate with a state-owned enterprise. And the members are appointed by the Minister for Health, and it's regulated by the Health Insurance Authority. So just to clarify that the listener spoke earlier on, 100% correct, and as I say, I never doubt our listeners. Donna joins me on the programme now. Donna, how are you keeping?
Hi, Greg. How's it going?
I'm doing okay. Now, you are talking about the lights at the Ballyrane Road. This is the set of lights just up from, I suppose, as you head towards Ramelton, just up from the Mount Erigal Hotel or Screwfix. They've been out for quite some time now.
That's right. They've been out now about a week.
Yeah, this is a particular concern for you and moving about your area, Donna, because you are legally blind.
Yes, I'm legally blind, so it's very challenging to get access now to go into town. I'm coming in by Arena 7, and usually you'd be able to walk with ease from Arena 7, say like to go up to Tesco's because the traffic lights is there. But now, well, I can't anyway. You know, it's very challenging. And even if you're standing there and say like a driver was gesturing to me to go ahead, I wouldn't actually see them.
And if this is just obviously not just for going into town, but also in terms of getting your son from school as well.
Yeah, my son's at Ballyrane School there, so yeah, I wouldn't feel comfortable going over to collect him now, like, you know, because without the traffic lights, it's very dangerous, like.
And what was your most recent experience with the lights being off?
Well, like I walk usually about 4 times a week with my friend at night time, and she's fully sighted. And like last night, we were out walking. We go walk around the town, like, and. Like last night, we're just standing at the traffic lights for ages. No one's stopping, and then eventually, like a driver did stop, but he was driving a lorry, and because he was in the inside lane and the vehicle's so large, it was very challenging to see the outside lane for my friend to even see. Like, and the car just went flying past. It's very dangerous. Like, yeah, I
mean, regardless of whether one can see or not, this is dangerous, but it's particularly challenging for you because your independence is removed from you as well. I mean, you know, you don't want to be reliant on other people, do you?
People to be with me.
Yeah.
Exactly. I don't want to be in that position, no.
Right, okay. We are going to find out what's going on. I noticed they were out, but it's like everything in life, Donna, it didn't inconvenience me, so I don't...
Exactly, if it doesn't affect you, yeah.
Exactly, and I'm just being completely honest here. I was just like, well, maybe they've switched them off for traffic flow or something, and I really appreciate you highlighting the fact that it's not simply like that, because these things affect people in different ways, and it's had really quite an impact on your independence and collecting your child and out for your walks and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And the question is why, whatever's wrong with them, why is it taking so long for the problem to be addressed?
Why is it taking so long to fix it? Like, yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right, Donna, well, we're going to find out what's going on. Unless there's anything else you want to mention, or are you happy enough there?
No, I'm happy enough. Thank you very much for mentioning it.
Right. No, we're going to find out what's going on there. Take care of yourself. 086 60 25,000. Yeah, so those traffic lights would be... I'm not great in roads, and sometimes the road names, so I presume sometimes others are the same. So if you're approaching If you come off the Polestar roundabout and you're going out towards Ramelton, the Mount Ergil's on your left, and then you come up to the roundabout, and those traffic lights aren't functioning. Donna has lost her independence, really, in terms of going to collect her son from school. Even with a person who's sighted, there was complication in crossing the road because there was a lorry on the inside lane blocking the outside lane visually. And also, what's taking so long to fix them? Right, we're going to get on that right away, and let's see how quickly we can get that sorted. Hi, Greg. I'm certainly not telling people who to vote for in the upcoming election, but how can any of your listeners vote for any of the two larger government parties, considering their complete failure regarding defective homes, changing the terms of reference and conditions and the goalposts? Obfuscation and generally being the bad stakeholder in all of this. And don't forget the near 100 years of infrastructural starvation we've suffered at their hands. That's one person's take of it. In relation to this mysterious object in the sky, I also saw that in the sky on Monday around 2:50 at the same time in the Carragart area. Had it been dark, I would have said it was a shooting star. It was very fast and didn't last. That comes in from Anne-Marie. Now, it could be a shooting star that is so bright. The way we perceive the sky as being light and blue or whatever is not necessarily precisely how a scientist might view it. So maybe it was just a very, very bright shooting star. It was like 3 times the size of the brightest streetlight, though, says a listener, which is big. What was it? Do we want it to be a UFO? Could it get any worse? I don't know. Why are people on the show calling it mica? It's not mica. It's the scam. These concrete products are defective, but so many more minerals and other things that nobody's talking about. We do all the time. But listen, we are just humans, okay? And the ladies corrected themselves to say, not corrected themselves, but clarified it. It's called mica. It's like people call, and the language is changing, and I generally don't use the word mica, but it's like lots of people call every single vacuum cleaner a Hoover. Do you know what I mean? It's like that. It's not in any way to diminish the problem. And I think the two ladies in front of me here, given the problems that they are going through, the fact that they just sort of said mica, in other words, that's what people know it as, they get a pass from me in any case. I understand what you're saying. I don't use the word mica. I use defective concrete and other phraseology. The science has moved on since it was called mica, but for many people, it is their mica home. And it's what they're going through, and I would not be one to correct them. Where are the shops with vending machines to return cans and plastic bottles in Donegal? What percentage will be recycled and what percentage will go to the incinerator? Good question. Or what percent will go on a boat somewhere? I don't know. I want to do a dig into the whole recycling thing and what happens to our blue bins a little bit more, because I think we're being sold a pop to some extent in the impact that we're having. We are doing our bit, but what happens afterwards? And this is not as it relates to the refuse collectors. I'm not on about them. It's really what happens down the line and how, even if there's someone working for a refuge company that can give us an insight into what is done with this rubbish and how it's dealt with. I've seen these vending machines in smaller shops and I've seen them in bigger shops. I don't know what the reaction to them is. What do shop owners, they have to invest an awful lot of money? Are you a small shop owner? I read somewhere that shops that don't have the machine have to advertise the nearest machine, so you could get a small company that has to advertise a big company nearby to recycle this stuff. I don't know what we're going to do. The bottle can't be squashed. The can can't be squashed. It has to be perfect. You have to stand in it. Like the one other shop that I saw it in, it's like in the middle of the shop. What, do you go in with a plastic bag and stand there like that there, going into the machine? I don't know. It varies from shop to shop. It's a suck it and see, we'll see. But don't go near it with bottles or cans from Northern Ireland, by the way. I got confirmed for mica 3 months ago, as this person who's affected described it. It cost $5,300. I can't apply to the scheme as I've no cracks or visible damage in the house. Interesting. I wonder why you checked for defective concrete. Is it a suspicion that you had, or you just wanted to know for peace of mind? That's interesting. I wonder if you tested every house built from, say, 2000, would every house have an element of mica in it? And I think then it's how bad it is determines your ability to get on the scheme. I'm not really quite sure. Greg, if this new agreement is acceptable to the DUP, should that not mean it's acceptable to the rest of the parties? Shouldn't the other parties boycott Stormont now? No, I think all parties agreed that the post-Brexit deal needed some adjustment. But a lot of the other parties were saying, well, let's get Stormont back up and running and we can look at that. I think there was some agreement. So I don't think that would necessarily be the situation there. Niall Blaney, I wonder, are you a Sinn Féin supporter or a DUP supporter? It's awful that he compared Northern Ireland to the war in Ukraine. I don't like his language. What does Senator Blaney's Fianna Fáil think of their party running candidates in the north of Ireland that they talk about so often, but that never happened? Why? And let us take a break because we're heading towards the news at 11 and we've got a great 11 till 12 lined up for you, so please stick around for that.
The 9 till noon show with O'Hara's of Foxford, introducing our new 18-hour fermented white bloomer, scoring the bronze at Blas na HÉireann.
Are you graduating this year? Venture has opportunities for ambitious graduates from the Northwest region to join its Financial Services Graduate Programme 2024. And with offices located in both Letterkenny and Derry London Derry, you can build a successful career as a financial analyst right here on your doorstep. Want to work with the world's leading investment banks? Join the multi-award winning team at Fintrue and become the future of financial services. Visit fintrue.com/grad to apply. Applications close February 12th.
Is that the new Opel?
Yes, of course.
Does it really look that good?
Yes, of course.
Is it fun to drive?
Yes, of course.
Is it packed with smart tech?
Yes, of course.
Can I test drive it right now at Manor Motors Opel?
Yes, of course.
The new Opel Corsa, now available. Hybrid and electric coming soon. See manormotors.ie for details.
Enhance your skills with SafeTech's part-funded training programs. At SafeTech, we provide courses including first aid, roadworks, people moving and handling, confined spaces, electrofusion and machinery training for Ireland and UK sites. Also online programs such as water hygiene, construction supervisors, safety reps and much more. If you have a group for training, SafeTech will go to you. Contact SafeTech today at safetech.ie and take the first step towards upskilling and safety compliance.
Nettle Horse is musical, magical, very, very funny, and like myself, a wee bit odd. It's about a man selling edible beetles at a horse fair in 2028, and a woman who just got planning permission to build a pyramid. Nettle Horse by Little John Nee, Saturday the 3rd of February. Tickets at ungreening.com.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Okay, it's just about to turn 11 o'clock. Let's get a news update, and it's over to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. The details of the deal between the British government and the DUP to allow power sharing resume will be published later today. The agreement includes new legislation to end post-Brexit checks on British goods that are moving into the north and staying there. Meanwhile, post-Brexit controls on food, plants and animal imports into the UK from the EU come into force today. Meat and dairy, fruit, veg and cut flowers all require specific health certificates. Agriculture Minister Charlie McConalogue is urging exporters from Ireland to ensure that they're prepared for the new legislation. Members of Donegal County Council have been briefed on the new deposit return scheme. It comes into effect tomorrow. A levy of 15 cent will be imposed on cans or bottles containing 500 millilitres or less, 25 cent on containers holding above 500 millilitres. The charge will be redeemed when the bottle or can is recycled in a special return machine. The machines are being placed in shops across the county. Smaller shops have been granted exemptions. Uisce Éireann is warning that repairs to a burst water main may cause supply disruptions at Carn Road, Cure, Ardmore Lower, Whitecastle, Redcastle, Quigley's Point and surrounding areas in South Inishowen. Work scheduled to take place until 4 this afternoon. Meanwhile, a burst main is being dealt with in the vicinity of the cottages Church Bray in Fawn. That's set to continue until 4:30. A Midlands North West MEP is calling on the EU to commit to the delivery of humanitarian aid and continue its support of the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian refugees. Chris McManus has labelled other countries' suspension of funding to UNRWA as shameful and unconscionable. He says it's important the EU stands up and provides support. And the status yellow wind warning is still in place along west and northwest coasts. Strong gusts expected in Donegal, Leitrim, Sligo, Mayo and Galway until 1 this afternoon. Met Éireann also warning of wave overtopping, and a similar alert is in place in Derry and Antrim until 5 this evening. They're the headlines. Back with headlines again at 12 noon.
Donald, thank you very much indeed. We'll be back with our next guest after a really short break.
It's important to take care of yourself when you're feeling unwell. And if you have symptoms of a virus, flu, or COVID-19, the best thing to do is to rest up and stay at home. Because you won't just be taking care of yourself, you'll be helping to protect other people too. People close to you, like family and friends, and people you've never even met who might be at higher risk than you. And don't forget to visit hse.ie for advice on getting better. From the HSE.
Now, Wellness Wednesday, we're talking teeth, gums, mouths, all kind of dental health. Dr. Dara Reynolds, partner at Errigal Dental, joins us now. Good morning to you. Dr. Reynolds, how are you keeping?
Very well. How's the form? You well?
It's good, and it's good to have you on board. And if any of you have any questions as it relates to your dental health, your mouth health, you'll not get anyone better than Dr. Dara Reynolds to answer your questions. So get them into us now, 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000, or call 07491 25,000. I was a dentist recently. It was a great experience. But I realised that I neglect to brush the insides of my teeth. Not anymore, Dara. Are we guilty of that, a lot of us, or am I an outlier?
No. Like everything, I mean, people are a mixed bag. So you'll have some people that sort of will tend to brush what's visible, and then some who maybe neglect what's less seen. But yeah, obviously it's a good idea to try and brush all the surfaces of all the teeth if you can.
And what would I read from the tutting of the hygienist?
That maybe there's room for improvement, perhaps.
Indeed.
We try not to be judgmental, though. Just try to be helpful.
Yeah, of course. No, and I say that with the tongue in my cheek. What's your opinion of composite bonding, says the listener? My teeth are fairly good. I never had any work done, but getting married this year and looking for that perfect smile.
Yeah, composite bonding is a real sort of buzz phrase, or has been over the last couple of years. It's a sort of a coverall term. It means different things to different people. Composite is just your standard. It's a resin. It's a plastic filling material. It's used for essentially all fillings in back teeth now, because people will remember the old dark amalgam metal fillings, which are now thankfully largely a thing of the past. They're very rarely used anymore. But anyway, composite now, when it tends to be used on the front teeth, it's called composite bonding. And as I say, it's a coverall term to cover when essentially people want to maybe straighten the teeth, align the teeth. So teeth are a little short, make them a bit longer. If the teeth are slightly crooked, you can add composite selectively to different surfaces to make the teeth appear as if they're straighter. Now, it has its limitations, and there are pros and cons to it, like there are to all sorts of treatments. If your teeth are very, very crooked, it won't give you the effect probably you're after. You should really be thinking in terms of orthodontics, braces to straighten the teeth. Also, if the teeth are very discolored, you may end up having to add quite a lot of composite to the teeth to hide that discoloration, which then leaves the teeth looking pretty bulky. So it's thanks to Instagram and TikTok and things like that, it's become very, very, very popular. And you'll have an awful lot of people coming in now where once upon a time they would have been asking about braces or asking about veneers or crowns, and now it's composite bonding. And as I say, it does have its limitations. It's a really useful treatment modality. It really has its uses, but it won't fix every problem.
Yeah, and I suppose, do people have to be conscious too of when you put something on your teeth that, we're talking very small distances here and how your teeth present themselves. It can quite alter the look of someone's smile or shape of their teeth, through a number of treatments there. Do people ever be surprised at that? Or I'm not sure that you do that work, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, we do. And you'll find that most dentists now do composite bonding of one type or another, but in certain cases, it's all about case selection, Greg. I mean, in the right case and with the right person, it can work wonders. But people sometimes come in asking about composite bonding, I sense they get disappointed when they're told, look, composite bonding isn't for you. It's not going to achieve the result you want, and you should really be looking at A, B, and C, other types of treatment. Or quite often it's not one thing or the other either. I mean, you can use some orthodontics along with composite bonding, whitening along with composite bonding. So as it does play a part, and it is a really, really useful treatment, but everybody, I'm amazed over the last 12 to 18 months in particular, how many people come in asking about composite bonding, because they've seen TikTok videos and great results can be achieved, but it has its limitations. And
expectations have to be managed. But I suppose that's the benefit, actually getting in front of a professional, because you get a realistic potential outcome or what have you. We're going to get a couple of questions on this, so I'll just get it out of the way right away, because it comes in each time. People struggling to get registered with a dentist. In Letterkenny particularly, and then there's an issue too for some people with a medical card and some people without a medical card.
Yeah, there is a nationwide. It's not just Letterkenny. I mean, all over the country, there's quite a shortfall of dentists. Now that is being made up gradually to a degree by an influx of foreign dentists coming from both within and outside of the EU. It obviously, like everything sort of EU or outside EU related, dentists from within the EU can get registered here reasonably quickly. Over the last year or two, there's been a lot of dentists coming in, say, for example, from Ukraine, who are outside the EU, and then they can register too, but the process is a little longer. They have to do some equivalency exams. Well, primarily they have to establish that their English language skills are good, so that they can obviously communicate with patients effectively. Because I mean, it's the one area, so like any branch of medicine, you have to be able to communicate with your patient, find out what it is they want and what can you help them with. As regards the medical card end of things, I think it is becoming increasingly difficult, again, nationwide, to get a medical card dentist. I've hearing over the last many years, a lot of dentists unhappy with the scheme, gradually people drifting away from it. So therefore, the fewer dentists doing it.
How it was described to me is that, because sometimes I think we in the public can view the dentist as a sort of an arm of the state or a public service or what have you, and to some extent there is that, but there is a business and you have a certain amount of capacity. And if you have to have a successful business, you need an income from the private customer, because if you were to do an awful lot of public work, and given the rate of pay that is available from the state, you wouldn't necessarily, not you, when I say you, I'm using a generic term, you don't necessarily have a viable business to cover all the overheads and costs. Is that kind of part of the issue here?
Certainly part of the issue. You see, dentistry in Ireland has been basically farmed out by the government to the private sector. There are still some dentists that work in HSE dental clinics, but it's an increasingly small number. And my information is that number is growing smaller every year. So essentially, what the government is doing is, say, different to medicine. If you have a medical card, you go to your doctor or you go to hospital. There's no pathway similar to that in terms of dentistry. Yes, there are some HSE clinics, but they're primarily their responsibility is mostly to see children up to the age of 14, I think. So a lot of adults are in a catch-22 where they can't access public dental care because most dental surgeries are struggling to accommodate new patients. A lot of dentists sort of have closed their books to new patients regardless. Then if they are taking on new patients, they will look at that and say, look, if I'm struggling to see the patients I have, I'm not going to take on, a lot more medical card patients where they will struggle to make a profit, and keep their businesses going effectively.
Yeah. Should I get mercury fillings removed, and is it costly? I have them from my teenaged years.
My opinion is no, because through your life, your amalgam fillings, as that's what people refer to as the mercury fillings, will eventually they wear out, will need to be replaced. I think it's a mistake. Personally, I've a number of amalgam fillings in my own head. They've been there since I was a kid too. They're not costing me a thought, because one of the slight risks, if you like, when removing amalgam fillings is that there is a certain amount of mercury vapor released into your system. So if you go and do like a lot of them at the one time, you're releasing an awful lot more mercury into your system than you would be by just having them in your mouth. And amalgam, it's a very durable material. It's very tough. That's why it was used successfully for a couple of 100 years. It lasts forever. Sometimes people will get amalgam fillings as a kid or in their teens. They'll still be there. Or I'll have patients who will have gotten them and they're in their 70s and 80s and still have the same fillings that they got as children. So the amount of, in inverted commas, mercury coming off them into your system is tiny, and unless they're giving you a hassle, I'm inclined to leave them be.
Yeah. I seem to have a lot of thrush in my mouth. Anything I can do, it's under my dentures on the top.
Yeah, there is people who have had thrush will be familiar with the product Caniston, or any sort of, it's an antifungal. But you can get a version of that you can literally coat onto the denture, and that will basically keep the antifungal treatment in contact with your gums, in your palate. Principally, it tends to happen in the palate more than in the lower jaw. But what that patient or what that person can also do, what I find really helpful, is to actually leave their dentures out overnight, leave them soaking in Sterident. As again, it's another product for cleaning the denture, helps to keep them bacteria-free cleaner. So they'll do themselves a huge favour, but simply by leaving their dentures out at night. The analogy I use is you wouldn't leave your socks and shoes on 24/7. Your feet will get a bit stinky. So it's the same for your mouth. Your mouth needs a break from the dentures, and nighttime is the best time. Just leave them out.
All right, I'm 65. I've taken great care of my teeth all of my life, but lately they are very yellow. Is this an age thing? I don't want to get them whitened. Any advice, or is whitening the only way to go?
Yeah, our teeth do gradually darken as we get older, unfortunately. And yeah, that sort of yellowy staining tends to be the most obvious sign of it. Now, unless it possibly could be a surface stain. So if this person may try going to their dentist or their hygienist, getting a really thorough cleaning done. And if it's a surface stain, that'll shift it. But if it's inherent within the body of the tooth, within the enamel, which is part of the healing process, the only way to improve upon that is teeth whitening. Now, but a lot of the people sometimes say, perhaps a man who's in his 60s might be concerned that, I don't want to have this TikTok grin, really white teeth. But a lot of whitening systems are gradual, so you can almost get to the level you want to get to. You don't go. It's not from going from 0 to 60. You can whiten them gradually. When you get to a point you're happy, then stop.
Exactly, and at just 65, why not? My daughter's 7 and has an enamel deficiency on her teeth. Can you recommend the best toothpaste and mouthwash for her to use? Or indeed, what kind of toothbrush might she use?
Yeah, that's a tough problem to deal with if kids have enamel deficiencies. It can lead to quite crumbly, weak teeth that can develop cavities and decay very easily. Most toothpastes, to be honest, are much of a muchness. You're looking for an age-appropriate toothpaste that has fluoride in it. Fluoride is one thing that will help to strengthen the teeth. Young children's toothpaste actually tends to have lower levels of fluoride, or will have lower levels of fluoride than an adult toothpaste. If you're confident that your child is good about brushing and good about, say, spitting out the toothpaste, in other words, isn't swallowing half the toothpaste, then you could think about switching them onto an adult toothpaste earlier. Another good thing to do is called no rinse brushing, and this is what's taught now to dentists in dental school and all the way through. And it is just as it sounds. And in fact, everybody should be doing this. It's better for their health of their teeth. You literally just brush, spit out your toothpaste. That's it.
That's it. Do you remember about 3 or 4 years ago, I says to you, is it not crazy that we brush our teeth and then do the mouthwash, swirl it round and spit out all the goodness?
Yeah. You were dead right, Greg.
I'm a visionary. Okay.
You're indeed. Yeah, so because if you think about it, the real reason is that the concentration of fluoride in the toothpaste is higher than in the mouthwash. So as you said, there's no point rinsing away the more effective toothpaste with the less effective mouthwash.
Even a broken clock is right once or twice a day. Okay. Ever since visiting the hygienist and seeing the harm that not brushing the inside of your teeth and mouth does, I will always do. Plus, having a good electric brush is a must. Yes, indeed. I didn't even realise I wasn't doing it, if that makes sense. And the hygienist was very good to me too and not really tutting. A couple of callers asking, is there a reluctance? And you're not speaking on behalf of the industry, but maybe there's sort of a sense out there. Is there a reluctance from Irish dentists to do the follow-up work for teeth done abroad? You know, like maybe pick up the pieces if someone's went out for, you know, implants or veneers or whatever. I mean, as I say, I'm not asking you to comment about you personally, but is there a sense in the industry?
Yeah, I'd say undoubtedly, because you're finding people have gone, they might have spoken to their own dentist about having perhaps a crown or a couple of crowns or an implant. And then they go away and they have 24 crowns done and half a dozen implants. And so a dentist, I think it's like any profession, or a plumber, an electrician, a builder is going to be hesitant about getting involved trying to rectify the work that somebody else has done, particularly when you know deep down and you know to your bones that there was way too much treatment done. It was done in far too short a period of time. And you really, because once you start, and you want to help the individual, you want to help the patient, but once you get involved, then it does become your responsibility. As far as a healthcare professional, you're trying to help people. But of course, there's going to be a reluctance to get involved in a case that you know deep down you could be really getting into a whole can of worms here, and then
when does the blame start? Then, if it really gets complicated, does the blame start once you intervene, or does it start in Turkey?
Does the blame start to shift? Because, like, when somebody goes to Turkey and they call it the Turkey 24, they go off and they get 24 crowns. And that's all been done in the space of a week or 10 days. That puts enormous pressure on the person's teeth, and that's why people end up having so much trouble. So you end up having teeth that die, ending up needing root canals. And when you go to Turkey, the clinic there knows 9 times out of 10 they're never going to see you again. So they'll do all that work, they'll pat you on the head, wave you off to the plane again, and then knowing that it's not going to be their problem, or most patients are unlikely to turn up at their doorstep again. So I would say to anybody who's doing that, I have patients who have had it done. I've seen good and I've seen bad, but if you are intent on doing it, do your research, particularly get personal referrals. Somebody that that's been there. And please do not be tempted by over-treatment. I've seen people who maybe needed a crown or a couple of crowns coming back with dozens and dozens, thinking, well, the more I spend, the more I save. But it's a fool's economy. It does not work out in the long run.
A caller went to the dentist, one of their middle back teeth. X-ray showed no filling, but when they bite down, there's a reaction to sugar and a bit of pain when they bite down. They mentioned it and it was X-rayed again. Still no need for a filling and nothing looking suspect around the root. What could it be? I think a crack in the tooth was mentioned. But what could that be?
Yeah, it's a cracked tooth. Cracked teeth are tricky ones to deal with, because and this problem increases with age. As we get older, it's just wear and tear, miles on the clock. We can develop little hairline fractures, little hairline cracks in teeth. A tooth, unlike your bone, you crack a bone, it repairs itself. A tooth has no ability to repair itself, bond itself back together. And unfortunately, if those cracks, a filling isn't going to help, because all filling does, you're removing tooth tissue, you're replacing it with composite resin. That doesn't really help. The problem is that the two halves of the cracked tooth, when this person bites down, they momentarily or instantly just get wedged apart slightly. You get this sudden pain through the tooth. Now, it tends not to last. It tends to go away again after a couple of seconds. But the only treatment, and it's quite the reason dentists won't provide it as an opinion straight away is because you're talking about perhaps needing a root canal and a crown, which is a lot of work and it's a lot of expense. And unless you're damn sure that that's going to work for the patient, you're going to be slow to advise that.
Yeah, I get you. Just a couple more. I know you're incredibly busy. I often wake with tension in the jaw and a sore head. A few friends have mentioned that I might be grinding my teeth in my sleep. How do I know if that's happening? How do I know what's happening and how do I fix it?
Yes, sounds as if that person is grinding. What I've been recommending people do is to literally go to your local sports shop, get yourself like a sports mouth guard, one of the quite cheap ones. You soften it, you warm it, you mold it to your teeth. Now try and wear that every night over a couple of weeks, and if you start seeing signs of wear and tear on that, well, that's diagnostic, that's definitive, you're grinding. So therefore then you can go to your dentist and say, look, I know I'm grinding, I need a mouth guard, a dental, like a custom made professional mouth guard. They're really, really effective at stopping grinding and protecting the teeth. But again, they're expensive. So that's what I tell my patients to do. If we suspect that they're grinding, get yourself a sports mouth guard, wear that every night for a couple of weeks. If you see signs of wear on it, well, Bob's your uncle, you're grinding, and then we can make you up a night guard.
My son has a tongue scraper and it's disgusting. But listen, that's just my own personal feelings.
Well, a tongue scraper, yeah.
But this leads into a question. It's just, I don't know, there's something about it. It's like, But anyway, is tongue scraping as important as toothbrushing or teeth brushing, or do you see it as important at all? Ask the listener.
It's important. I've got 2 teenagers at home who do it religiously.
Must be on TikTok then. I thought it was taking the lid off a beer.
It is. It's again the influence of Snapchat or TikTok or something. I don't know. Personally, to me, I don't think it's not as important. But I mean, it does no harm. And certainly there will be a certain amount of bacteria on the tongue, like there are on the teeth. So it can't do any harm. It might make you retch a bit, but if you can get over that, it's fine. It's certainly not doing any harm. So why not?
I retch picking up my toothbrush, like literally. That's like preempt. I go anyway. Last one. How can you overcome a fear of going to the dentist? It is a funny one, isn't it? Because a lot of stuff gives me worry and anxiety and stress, but going to the dentist was never kind of one of those things. I did go through a stage where I thought they were going to diagnose something in my mouth that wasn't teeth related, but hopefully I'm overcoming all of that stuff. But that's just a fact, and the reason I say it is because other people might feel the same. But this caller, do you have any go-to tips about, first instances, speak to a dentist or ring the dentist and explain to them you have an issue?
This is something that I think affects older patients perhaps a lot more than younger people haven't so many bad experiences in the bag, so to speak. I think a dentistry...
You're not selling it, Dara. You're not really selling this.
But I think dentistry in days of yore and years gone by probably was a less pleasant experience. I mean, I think people should get some solace from the fact that anesthetics now are really, really good. If you're having work done, your tooth's supposed to be numb, it will be numb. I think some of my patients, they bring along earbuds, earphones, whatever. Listen to music while you're here. And if it's something you can't get over, it's like a proper phobia. Well, obviously, people can do cognitive behavioral therapy with that, but there, some dentists will provide dentistry under sedation. You can get what's called inhalation gas, or you can get what's more effective is IV sedation. A little line into the back of your hand. So you're not actually out, you're not actually unconscious, you're awake and you're conscious, but you've no memory of the procedure afterwards. You just feel a bit spaced out afterwards. So some dentists will do that, and it's very effective if somebody has a phobia that they just cannot cope with.
So
that's fine.
Yeah, and you just get through the door and then you sort it. All right, listen, Dara, thanks so very much indeed. I really do appreciate it. Have a great day. That's Dr. Dara Reynolds, partner at Errigal Dental, and we really appreciate him joining us for our dental health specialist part of this Wellness Wednesday.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
The 9 till Noon Show with O'Hara's of Foxford. It took us 72 years to perfect our deliciously authentic Baker 51 sourdough bread. One bite and you'll agree true taste takes time.
The ever-popular Bluegrass Festival returns to Ardra from Friday the 2nd to Sunday the 4th of February, featuring some of the finest bluegrass acts in the world. Direct from Nashville, this year's headline act is East Nash Grass, playing live in the Beehive Bar with special guests on Saturday the 3rd at 8:30 and Sunday the 4th at 7:30. Don't miss what promises to be an exceptional weekend of bluegrass in Ardra, Friday the 2nd to Sunday the 4th of February. For accommodation and more, see ardra.ie.
The way you eat a cream egg says everything about you. If you eat yours with a teaspoon, that means you like things just so. You turn up the TV in even numbers. You pronounce chorizo, chorizo. And if you find a shirt you like, you buy 10. Search Cream Egg Test to find out who you really are. Cadbury Cream Egg. How do you eat yours?
Attention school leavers. Join us for Southwest College's full-time and apprenticeship open days. Visit our campuses in Dungannon on the 23rd of January, Enniskillen on the 30th of January, and Uma on the 6th of February from 3 to 7 p.m. Participate in workshops and demonstrations and meet your future tutors. Whether you're passionate about business, engineering, healthcare or the arts, we have something for everyone. Study near, go far at Southwest College. Visit swc.ac.uk for details.
Go full Lidl with these exclusive Lidl Plus Super Savers. Like Board B approved Irish Angus lean beefsteak mince was $5.99, now $4.79. Pick organic vine tomatoes, 48% off, now $1.29. And there's 30% off frozen breaded fish cakes, now $1.81. Scan your Lidl Plus app and go full Lidl today.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
Okie doke, the time is 11:27. Coming up shortly, Chris Ashmore will be joining us with Business Matters. I just want to run through a few things just before we get Chris in. A thank you from a listener. I was in the new Duns last Wednesday, this in Letterkenny. I'd just gotten a new Revolut card and phone. I didn't know how to work it to get the money out of Revolut. I had €25 in my AIB account. The shopping was €42. The lady behind heard and helped me. I know nothing about her. I offered her the 25 that I had, but she wouldn't take it. She was a blonde-haired lady with her grown-up son. If she sees this or hears this on the radio, could she leave her number or name so I can thank her? There aren't many people who would offer to pay for your shopping, so I'd just really like to say thank you. That comes in from Lorraine in Letterkenny, and we've often found ourselves in this situation, but how lucky is Lorraine to have a wonderful citizen behind her to help. A caller says, it takes the French to show us all what a real protest is. I don't know what has happened to us. We used to be able to, back in the 60s, do it. I remember Dublin blocked and you couldn't get out or in. That comes in from Celia. I think the battle often now is for the hearts and minds. And I think even people who are conscious of, say, for instance, a protest in Dublin or what have you, you have to be careful in it because, you know, unless there's hundreds of thousands of people involved, you can have the story turned against you very, very quickly. You know, you can be called names, you can be accused of disrupting this, that and the other, you can be accused of targeting business or whatever it might be. And I think an awful lot of this now is not necessarily in terms of numbers on the streets. And this is only just, you know, I'm just riffing here. I think it's really almost as much as what the media report or what people post on social media. And I wonder if that's part of it. I don't know. When I had measles many years ago, a dark room for 3 days, no big deal, of course. Thank God that was you. But for many, it's not quite that simple. I had measles too with no complications. But if there are complications for others, my personal experience really is irrelevant. Please emphasise the dangers of expectant mothers who come into contact with or contract measles. It can cause deafness in the baby in the womb. I remember that messaging from when I was younger, actually. Hi, Greg. I walk every night from Cockhill to Buncrana, but since the storm, it's become a problem. There are no streetlights, and the only dog poop bin on this walk has been removed. So you are walking a dog on a lead, holding a torch and trying to lift dog poop in the dark and then carry it home. It's a disaster. People are just going to leave the poo, not bother lifting it, and this causes another problem. Can you find out what's happening here? We can try and find out what's happening with those lights. How is Eamon Ryan getting to Brazil on his St. Patrick's Day junket? Cycling, I think. Surely a man of his calibre and convictions is flying there. He'll probably head off rowing in a Cora out of Dublin to keep his emissions down. No, his emissions and that of his party colleagues equate to 2 family cars driving around for a year. All right, let's take a break. Chris Ashmore's in with some business news and look forward to the Business Matters podcast after these.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with O'Hara's of Foxford. It takes 18 hours to perfect our new 18-hour fermented sourdough bread. One bite and you'll agree true taste takes time.
It's the big brand sale at Super Value, and there's great special offers like selected Fairy and Ariel Pods 38 watt and Nicky toilet tissue 24 roll, any two for €16, exclusive to Real Rewards members only. Plus money off vouchers every week on the app. So don't miss our big brand sale and pop in store or online for great savings at Super Value. T's and C's apply.
Are you building, rebuilding, or simply improving your home? Come along to Donegal's premier gathering of home building professionals in the Northwest. Donegal New Build and Rebuild 2024 will take place in the Mount Erigal Hotel, Letterkenny from Friday 2nd until Sunday, February 5th. Admission is free to this 3-day event. This ad is sponsored by AIB Letterkenny.
Keep out the cold, and ring Fleming for their full range of garage doors, agri doors, insulated doors, milking parlour doors. Fleming, 91 48 234.
With everything from pedal and electric ride-ons to go-karts and scooters, there's loads of fun guaranteed all year round at Tinny's Toys in Letterkenny. If you have a kid's birthday coming up, see the great choice at Tinny's Toys to make it extra special. Visit Tinny's Toys on Leck Road, Letterkenny, or shop online for express delivery at tinnystoys.com. Tinny's Toys, with so much more than just farm toys.
The 100% electric new Nissan Ariya is now on Irish roads, which means you'll discover the game-changing silhouette that sets it apart, as well as its luxurious interior inspired through Japanese design. Then you'll discover the smooth acceleration, quiet operation and advanced technology that makes every drive a pleasure. The new Nissan Ariya from €43,500. Test drive it today and discover outstanding. Nissan, innovation that excites. Dealer delivery and related charges apply.
Brian Adams is back on tour in 2024. Join Highland Radio on our trip to Dublin to see the man himself at the 3 Arena on Tuesday the 21st of May 2024. Your trip includes luxury transfers, bed and breakfast at the 4-star Carlton Hotel Blanchestown, your standing ticket to the show, and a shopping trip to Dublin City Centre the following day. Find out more on the outlet at highlandradio.com or call us on 074 91 25,000.
Business Matters in association with the Faculty of Business at ATU Donegal. For a career in financial governance, consider the Level 9 MA in Governance and IT in Financial Services, starting in January. Contact the Exec Ed Coordinator on 9186206 or email donald.hannigan@atu.ie today.
Okay, Business Matters is a weekly podcast from Highland Radio where we highlight platform, business people, businesses, give information and what have you every single week. And there's a fantastic back catalogue of podcasts for you to listen to. Or if you're bang up to date, there's a brand new one available right now. Chris Ashmore is the presenter of Business Matters and he's in studio with us. Chris, good morning.
Good morning, Greg.
Before we get to the actual content of the podcast, can we catch up on some news? And I read that the local enhancement programme has launched for this year. What's it about?
Yeah, now this is basically a fund. There's money there for small community groups and organisations to apply for assistance to help with building works or small improvements to premises or to purchase equipment that is for community use, so very much at a grassroots level. It's been administered by the Donegal Local Community Development Committee, and there's more details on their website, and the deadline is at the end of February. So look, it's a chance for small groups, to get a little bit of funding. You put in your application and hopefully you'll be successful.
Yeah, you don't know unless you bid. Now, many people might wonder, when are workers most productive? There's an answer for everything, Chris.
Yeah, there was a study carried out by an office supplier called Codex, and they did some research into working habits, and they found that people are most productive on a Monday and a Tuesday, and then they drop off as the week goes on. And they also found a couple of other interesting things, that 32% of Irish workers say a comfortable office chair enhances remote productivity. And 57% of workers said they are more productive when working remotely. But 1 in 4 said that they found that they struggled at times with feelings of isolation. So,
mixed bag.
All these things mixed bag.
There's a
absolutely.
big push to get people back into the office, though.
Yeah, there's a lot for it. Yeah,
there is a big push on now. I think that experiment was tried, and a lot of the big companies are hiring, and the proviso being that you're in the office. You keeping a good eye on any developments or planned developments for us, Chris?
Yeah, there's always something going on the planning front. The Apex Housing Association seeking planning permission from Donegal County Council to build 32 two-storey homes at Convoy Town Parks, so more houses on the way. Harvey's Point Hotel, there are just small plans relative to the size of the hotel. They're looking to extend 3 new bedrooms, a conversion of a store area, and a new front of house area for guests, plus an overflow car park for 26 vehicles. Parking can be an issue at hotels. And I see also planning permission has been granted for a new leisure centre in Buncrana, including a 25-metre pool. So that's great news for Inishowen, and hopefully that will proceed very soon.
Right, now, the ECB has left interest rates unchanged, but still the prediction is that as early as this half of the year, we are going to see interest rates begin to be cut.
Yeah, so we last year they were very much on an upward spiral. European Central Bank has left interest rates unchanged at 4%, but all the indications are that as the year goes on, we will see them coming down. So that's good news if you're looking for a mortgage, or indeed if you have a variable mortgage. And of course, that'll filter through to car loans, personal loans, everything else.
For sure. And sentiment and spend, and hopefully business. Coupled with that, further announcement of electricity prices being reduced from a high level, it has to be said. And I am a little bit conscious of these in that there is very clearly one company in the Irish market who is cheaper than everyone else. And often I think some of the other companies, they reduce their price, but they're not actually
follow suit.
They're not actually going below the lowest in the market. So in terms of competition, I'm not sure. But we did see the lowest go lower more recently. But anyway, anytime we see prices reducing, it has to be welcomed, I think, Chris.
Absolutely. And, people might hear about there's a new wholesale price index, and it's out, and it showed just that, that trend continuing to cut. But there is, of course, a time lag, because these companies, they're spot buying on the market for the oil or whatever it is months in advance. So it takes time to filter through. But again, it's good news. Things are on the way down there. So your electricity bills are going down and not up.
And just the results of a recent CSO survey on businesses.
Yeah, this was a survey that was carried out by the CSO just on businesses in Ireland, and it was interesting to note that it was a survey of businesses in Ireland. Now, it related to 2021, so it's a little bit out of date, but it was only just issued on this Monday. But foreign multinational companies play a huge role in Ireland, and if I was to ask you to guess, have you any idea how many people would work in foreign multinational companies?
500,000? I don't know.
It's 571,000. That's a lot of people.
I was only 70,000
Yeah,
off.
that was a very good reply. Yeah. A man with his finger on the pulse.
Right, quirky website time.
Yeah, I think you like quirky websites. So there's a website called greatcirclemap.com. And basically you can put in, I was on it there, and I put in Donegal Airport, and I thought Donegal Airport to Hong Kong, and it will show you the distance between airports. And it also shows you what's called a circle path, which is known as a geodesic path.
Yeah. This is based on the flawed data that the world is actually not flat.
Now, so this shows the shortest...
I'm not sure about this, Christopher.
The shortest possible route between 2 points on the surface.
So what do you put in? Donegal Airport?
But if you go into the... Have you got, can you see the About section? There's a little section that says About.
Yes.
Now, if you click on that, and it gives you an example of if you were flying from Los Angeles, I think it is, to Dubai.
Yes.
And it shows the quickest way is actually over the North Pole.
Wow, so that's good for those watching
at home.
You
wouldn't think when you're looking at things...
So why don't you... I suppose the world's turning?
The world's turning. Now, of course, airlines don't go the shortest route, because you have corridors in the sky, so to speak, and then there's political considerations. But something, Greg, that I suspect you might have a little bit of fun looking at and seen
Which
things.
normally means I miss out what you're about to say. Anyway, okay, that's good. Quite interesting. But of course, as I say, this is based on the yet to be proven theory that the world's in fact round.
I wonder, did the man who landed on the moon, eh?
No, well, that was filmed in Wales.
Oh, well, yeah.
I'm joking. Right, let's see what's coming up on the pod.
Yeah, this week, Adam Graham runs the Recharge Recovery Room at the Oral Leisure Centre here in Letterkenny. So he only went into business last April, so a new business. It's going very well. And if you've got sore limbs or you've been doing intense activity, you can go in here and you've everything from compression boots to ice baths, so hot and cold therapy, and you come out feeling all refreshed. So this is a clip from the podcast.
After school, I got into fitness instructing, and then I progressed on to being a personal trainer in the Northwest Regional College there in Derry. And then I've gone on then into sports nutrition. I've done that online. And yeah, anatomy and physiology has always been a strong background of mine, hence the interest going in now to recovery as well. So.
And you spent some time abroad as well?
I did. I actually got my first job in the fitness industry down with Bendel and Gyms in Jervis Street in Dublin, which was fantastic. And then worked across Northwood and other areas, Sandyford with Bendel and Gyms. And then I moved out to Dubai then with Fitness First, and I worked as a personal trainer. And then back here as well with PT in Derry and in Strabane as well. And I've been lucky enough to work as a fitness instructor and teach classes here in the Oral Leisure Centre, the Razzably Hotel, and yeah, I've had a lot of experience, and you can call it work. It's a lot of fun. It's nice to do what you enjoy.
All right, Chris, ice baths seem to be all the rage now on social media. Everyone's swimming in icy waters or in a wheelie bin now obviously your guest there. It's not a wheelie bin, but you've done an ice? I haven't. You were asking me just before we cut from the clip. I've never done an ice bath. I'm not sure I will.
Short and sweet, but you do feel invigorated afterwards. You're going from one extreme to the other, and the bonus down there is after the ice bath, you go into the hot tub. So. You know.
I listen. It's the science is proven on it because it releases all these kind of chemicals. I'd just be afraid of the. You know what impact it might have on me, the shock factor. Okay, listen, I'll try anything once within reason and within the law, of course. Right, the full interview is available right now on our podcast in the listen back section of our website. That's Adam Graham of Recharge Recovery Room at the Oral Leisure Centre. Interesting work and an interesting story as to how we got there. And you can listen to it on the radio after the 6 o'clock news on Sunday. Chris, and if anyone wants to contact you.
Yes, the email is businessmatters@highlandradio.com.
Chris, really appreciate you calling in. We'll be back with more after this break.
The 9 till noon show with O'Hara's of Foxford. We take 18 hours to craft our new 18-hour fermented sourdough bread. Now's the perfect time to enjoy a slice.
Oreo the robot is not just helping with service at Kelly's Diner, he's also adding a little twist to birthdays there. If you're celebrating at Kelly's, Oreo can even be persuaded to sing a very special happy birthday. It's a great treat for small kids and plenty of big kids too. For the chance to see and hear Oreo the robot in action, visit Kelly's award-winning diner today at Mountaintop Letterkenny. First Communion and Confirmation catering also now available.
Eclipse Cinemas in Lifford, Strabane and Bundoran was honoured with the title of Best Family Entertainment Venue at the Highland Radio Customer Service Awards. Here are some of the reasons why.
The Director's Lounge is brilliant. Homemade popcorn in a class of its own. The pizzas are amazing. The staff are friendly and helpful. I enjoyed having my hot food delivered to my seat. It's just a really class cinema.
Treat yourself to a night out at Eclipse Cinemas in Lifford, Strabane and Bundoran.
Well, Grace, how are you today?
I'm good. I've just been down to the Made to Measure Fireplaces showroom in Creasla. They have an incredible selection of over 40 colours for kitchen worktops. And guess what? For a limited time, they're offering a 40% discount on any electric fire when you purchase a worktop there.
40%? That's an amazing deal, Grace.
Absolutely. And trust me, if the discount alone doesn't sway you, their huge selection of fireplaces, stoves, wood pellet burners, beams and stone cladding certainly will.
Contact Made to Measure Fireplaces Fireplaces Creeshlaw on 074 91 38 365, on Facebook, Instagram and on mtmfireplaces.ie.
Do you hear that? That's the sound of a butcher cutting through his costs. A tech company developing their sustainability plan. And a brewery getting production flowing nicely. It's all in a day's work for small businesses all across Ireland. So whatever your business, your local enterprise office is here to help you save time, money and energy. To see how, visit allinadayswork.ie. Brought to you by your local enterprise office and supported by Enterprise Ireland and the local authorities, an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by Grant. Building a new home? Choose Grant's A++ rated Airona air to water heat pump and Uflex underfloor heating. Visit grant.ie.
So some bright spells developing with fresh to strong and gusty southwest winds, turning cloudier as a band of rain moves in across the region towards mid-morning. So that's reaching us around about now, bringing stronger winds for time. You're going to be feeling that in the west coast, and it's feeding in across Letterkenny right now as we speak. Okay, so we have HSE National Cancer Control Programme and its partners are inviting you to a free public webinar on lung and bowel cancer ahead of World Cancer Day. Now, almost 2,600 people are diagnosed with lung cancer and over 2,500 people are diagnosed with bowel cancer each year in Ireland. Now, for a lot of people, that won't necessarily rush them to the doctors, or it won't rush them to get a checkup. For some people it will, but for others, and it depends on your state of mind, it might make you feel fearful and worried, and you might not act on it at all. But that's not the function of conversations like this. The conversation is about, go and get yourself checked out, early interventions and the potential for positive outcomes as well. Dr. Breda Neville is specialist in public health with the HSE's National Cancer Control Programme, and she joins us now. Good morning, Doctor. Thanks for your time.
Hi, good morning, Greg.
And the focus is, particularly from our perspective as part of this upcoming day, is on lung and bowel cancers.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you mentioned there, Greg, lung and bowel cancers are two of the most common cancers that occur in Ireland at the moment. But I suppose there's two really good pieces of good news. So the first is that there are lots of things that we can all do to reduce our own risk of cancer. And the second is that there are signs and symptoms that you can watch out for, that so you'll know when you need to go to see your doctor so that you can have your cancer, if you have a cancer, picked up early, in order to give yourself the best chance of having a successful treatment and a successful outcome.
And I know many people, I don't know many people who have had lung cancer, but I know many people, a number of people, who've had bowel cancer. And thankfully, it was caught early and treated. And it's tough, and there's a process to be gone through. But thankfully, they've come out the other end. But the early diagnosis is very helpful.
Yes, early diagnosis is key, really. And I suppose in terms of bowel cancer, there are a few things that you need to look out for, a few signs and symptoms. So first of all, if there's any change in your bowel habit, so any change in your stool, so your poo basically, so if you're pooing more often than normal, if you're having looser stools, if you're passing any blood from your back passage, if you're having any
period of time, Breda.
So generally, in terms of the bleeding, I suppose if you have any bleeding from your back passage, you should really go to your doctor to get that checked out. In terms of the change in bowel habit, if your bowel habit is changed over a period of 6 weeks or more, really beyond what's normal for you, then you should head into your GP and just get that checked out.
And just in relation to blood in your stools, do you differentiate between blood that you might see on your tissue separate to your stool versus something that appears to be through your stool?
Well, yes, in that blood and wiping can be something like, for example, like hemorrhoids. But if you see any blood in your stool or any blood and wiping, I suppose you go to your doctor and you speak to them, and then they will take your history. They might examine you, and they'll decide then whether you need to look into it further. So if you have any blood at all, really, you should go to see your doctor.
And there are many things it could be, one of which is bowel cancer. And you're not going to the doctor to get a diagnosis. You're going to, to get a diagnosis of cancer per se. You're going to the doctor to find out precisely what it is and the correct course of action. And if it is bowel cancer, then obviously there is a process then to be followed.
Yeah, absolutely. So I suppose the important thing is if you do have any of these symptoms, so as I was saying, any change in your bowel habit, any blood in your stool, any pain in your tummy or pain in your back passage that's not normal for you, any loss of appetite, unexplained weight loss, or if you're just feeling very tired and, anything really that's not normal for you, you're going to your doctor. But there are many, very benign, very straightforward things that can explain these symptoms. So you're not going to get a diagnosis of cancer. What you're doing is you're going to your doctor just to get checked out, just to be sure. If your doctor will then talk to you, take your history, examine you, and then they'll decide whether they think it's likely to potentially be something more serious. If they do think that it's possible that you have cancer, they'll refer you on for further tests at that point.
In terms of lung cancer and early diagnoses of that, or getting an opinion early, what should we be looking out for?
Again, so absolutely. So I suppose the first thing is if you have a cough that's going on for more than 3 weeks, if you're somebody who has an ongoing cough that you cough all the time, if there's any change in what's normal in your cough pattern. Again, if you're coughing up any blood, if you have any shortness of breath that's unusual for you, any pain in your chest, or again, if you have any unexplained weight loss or loss of appetite, or if you're feeling particularly tired or unwell on an ongoing basis, you should pop into your GP and just get checked out. But again,
and that would include, yourself, there's a bug going around at the moment that people have a dry, persistent cough, and then sometimes it's a wet cough, and then it's like. The worst thing, not the worst thing, but what we shouldn't be doing is sort of self-triaging or diagnosing, should we? That is, you'll know what it is, but don't put it down to something else. Get that checked out if there's something in the back of your head that's saying something to you.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, if your cough is going on for more than a few weeks, so more than 3 weeks is generally what we would say, just go in and get it checked out. And I suppose the bottom line as well is if you're worried, just go to the doctor. They're not going to be annoyed if you show up just to check it out. So if the cough is persisting, don't self-triage. Just pop in and your doctor can check it out for you.
And there is an awful lot of conversation at the moment about how busy GPs are, how busy acute hospitals are. Only go in the case of an emergency. I think if people are concerned about some of the things we're talking about, you disregard that and you go and get checked. There's not a GP in this land or where it's relevant in other areas, a hospital that does not want to see someone who is concerned about their health.
Absolutely. What we don't want is people staying at home with these symptoms and worrying that they can't present because the doctor is too busy. The doctors in the GPs, the doctors in the hospitals, all the healthcare staff, if you have a symptom that you're worried about, they want you to come. They want you to get checked out. Early detection is really important in terms of giving you the best chance of having a good outcome. Often these things turn out to be something with a simple explanation and nothing to worry about. But the most important thing is anything that you're worried about, pop into your GP and just get them checked out.
And of course, if you're eligible for bowel screening, I think a lot of your advice, regardless of age, take it on board. But there also is the bowel screening program as well, which I'm sure you'd encourage people to engage in.
Absolutely. So bowel screening is a free program which is available for anybody who's aged between 59 and 69 in Ireland at the moment. So in order to get a letter of invitation, you need to be registered on the Bowel Screen Register. So if you want to check whether you're registered, just go to bowelscreen.ie and it'll tell you how to get checked there. Once you're on the register, if you're between the ages of 59 and 60, you'll receive a letter. Generally, you'll receive your first letter between the ages of 50 and 61. And if you opt in, what happens is you get just a little test in the post where you provide a little sample of your stool, a little sample of your poo. That gets sent off. It's checked for blood. If blood is detected in your stool, you'll be contacted then in order to do further screening, which normally takes the form of a colonoscopy. So a colonoscopy is a procedure whereby a small tube is placed into the bowel with a very small camera, just so that the doctor can have a look in your bowel just to see what's going on in there. It might sound scary. It's nothing to worry about. You're sedated, so you're not aware of what's going on. It's a very routine procedure that people have all the time. And then if there are any concerns, the doctor can have a look into your bowel and see where you go from there.
I don't see it sort of referenced in some of the documentation, but do people with a family history need to be extra careful? Not exclusively careful, but extra careful.
Yeah, so people with a family history of bowel cancer. So when we say a family history, what we generally mean is a close relative. So your mother or your father or brother or sister. So those people may be at increased risk, people who have members of close family members who have had bowel cancer. So what you need to do there is you need to discuss your risk with your GP. There are some conditions, genetic conditions, that do make you more at risk of developing bowel cancer, and your GP may refer you to a specialist just to look at your risk and decide whether you need to have more frequent surveillance. So in some cases, people have regular colonoscopies. But that would be decided on a case-by-case basis. So just, if you're worried about family history, just discuss it with your GP and you can take it from there.
Okay, and obviously the advice, don't start smoking or stop smoking, limit your alcohol intake, be as active as you can, stay as close to a healthy weight as you possibly can, and ensure that you're eating a healthy, balanced diet. And also, interestingly, I note now, to check the radon levels in your home or workplace and to take action to reduce them if necessary. It's interesting that has now become part of cancer prevention advice now.
Yeah, so I suppose with lung cancer, the single most important thing that you can do is not smoking. Ideally, you don't start smoking in the first place, but if you already smoke, it's never too late to quit. Quitting smoking at any stage will reduce your risk of lung and, in fact, bowel and several other cancers. And if you need any information on quitting, you can go to quit.ie. Radon it's a radioactive gas that occurs naturally in the environment. It doesn't have a taste, it doesn't have a colour, it doesn't have a smell. And if you're exposed to radon, high levels of radon over a long period of time, it can increase your risk of lung cancer.
Rita, that's where we have to leave it. I will mention the seminar first thing on the show tomorrow. Thank you very much for your time. I know that's important.
Just to say that we'll be going into all of that in a lot more detail. We'll have a panel of experts on our free webinar tomorrow. And if anybody would like to register, just go to hse.ie/cancer prevention.
Perfect. And it runs from 1 p.m. to 2:15 p.m.
And
more
and
of
you'll
what
have
we've been
access to a
talking
recording
about.
to watch it later if you're
Super
not
stuff.
available at
Thank you very much indeed. That's where we have to leave it on the programme today. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you tomorrow. Stay tuned. Aidan's up after the break and the news with Around the North.